Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. After marrying the vegetative female devil, I was so happy. Chapter 1. Lingxiao Continent, Kanglan Realm. White Feather God Sect, a place where handyman disciples gather. After cleaning the mountain gate of the divine sect, Si Chen, dressed in the uniform of a handyman disciple, walked over unsteadily. As a handyman disciple of the White Feather sect, the top demon sect in the Kanglan Realm, Si Chen's daily task is to clean the gate of the sect. Pushing open the door of the thatched house, Si Chen collapsed on the bed, positioned himself in a big shape, and looked at the ceiling blankly. At this time, it had been almost a month since Si Chen traveled to Lingxiao Continent, but he was still just a small handyman disciple. System, please play some role. Don't make me kneel down to beg you. Ding, host, please sign in next to the distinguished power as soon as possible. Easy as you said. Like all the armies of time travelers, Si Chen also activated the system when he time traveled to Lingxiao Continent. It's just that his system is a little special. Si Chen needs to sign in near those people with noble status, and the more noble the status of that person, the closer Si Chen is to that person, the richer the reward will be. Si Chen was lucky enough to see what was in the prize pool, but just by taking one more look, Si Chen almost exploded. Si Chen's brows jumped at the sight of heavenly blessings, supreme bones, strange fires, ancestral talismans, million-year soul rings, etc. However, signing in next to someone with a distinguished status sounds very simple, but for Si Chen, who was in an ordinary farmer's home as soon as he traveled through time, it was extremely difficult. Once upon a time, Si Chen found the most distinguished person in the village and signed in with him full of hope, but the result was ding. Congratulations to the host for signing in next to the village chief, an ordinary person who will not live long, and get 0.5 points. Attribute gift pack mini *1. Si Chen just wanted to say, you don't need to add so many prefixes to the village chief. Fortunately, I signed in next to the village chief every day. Although the rewards were very small, only a few points and a mini attribute gift pack, it was better than nothing. No matter how small a fly's legs are, they are still meat. In this way, Si Chen checked in next to the old village chief day after day, working tirelessly to improve his own attributes, and finally, the old village chief is dead. Before dying, the old village chief held Si Chen's hand tightly and looked at Si Chen very moved. Son, thank you for staying with me all this time. The old man has nothing to give you. I know you have great ambitions, so I can show you a clear path. All the way to the west. There are immortals there. Old man, I have seen immortals flying in the sky. After burying the old village chief, Si Chen embarked on a journey to the west to find the immortal as he said. After walking like this for who knows how long, Si Chen really saw the immortal that the old village chief mentioned, and came to the place where the White Feather sect recruits disciples. Perhaps because Si Chen added all the attribute points in the mini attribute gift pack to his strength, Si Chen unexpectedly became a handyman disciple of the White Feather God sect. The White Feather sect is one of the top demon sects with a great reputation in the entire Kanglan world. The current leader, Luo Juru, once single-handedly killed countless rival sects, staining thousands of miles with blood and turning the entire sky red. Since that time, everyone in the world has known that the leader of the White Feather sect is a murderous female demon who never blinks an eye at murder. Si Chen originally thought that after becoming a handyman disciple of the White Feather sect, he would be able to come into contact with more people, and maybe even be able to sign in with the leader of the White Feather sect. However, Si Chen found that he was thinking too much. After coming to the White Feather sect for so long, the most distinguished person he came into contact with was only responsible for recruiting servant disciples for worship. Even this worshipper was not something Si Chen could see if he wanted to. As a top cult sect, the White Feather sect's power is too huge. Above the handyman disciples, there are outer disciples. Above the outer disciples, there are inner disciples. Above the inner disciples, there are true disciples, and above that there are elders. Si Chen's chances of even meeting an ordinary outer disciple were slim, let alone the leader of the White Feather God sect. As usual, check your system panel every day. Host, Si Chen. Cultivation. 0, no cultivation. Strength, 20. Qualification, 30. Charisma, 23. Lucky, 100. Available free attribute points, 3 points. Today's discounted items. Zong Level High Grade Earth Spirit Pill, price, 900 points, 10% off. Holy Level Low Grade Sword, Chungying Divine Sword, priced at 800,000 points, 20% off. Because all the attribute points gained during this period were added to strength, Si Chen's strength had improved a lot at this time. According to the system, the basic numerical value of an ordinary adult male is around 10, and Si Chen's current strength should be twice that of an ordinary person. However, looking at the big 0 behind the cultivation level and the 100 behind the luck, Si Chen felt that his whole body was not well. Although his luck index is 100, since Si Chen traveled here, he has never felt how lucky he is. Sometimes Si Chen even wonders whether other people's luck values start in the hundreds. As for the daily discounted products, they are also ridiculously expensive after discounts. In so many days, Si Chen has only offered 50% off products once. Emperor Level Physique, Heavenly Body. 50% off requires 20 million points. When will this shitty life end? Boom. Just as Si Chen finished speaking, the door of the thatched house was blasted into debris by the extremely majestic spiritual energy. At the same time, Si Chen's ears also heard a system prompt. Ding, it has been detected that there is a strong person in the late cave ruins realm near the host, please sign in. Quote exclamation mark question mark quote. Si Chen suddenly sat up from the bed and looked in the direction of the door. At this time, there were two people standing at the door. The sunlight outside the house shone into the house from behind them, and the backlight made it impossible for Si Chen to see their faces clearly. However, Si Chen heard their conversation. Is he the person the fortune teller mentioned? It seems so, but he seems to have nothing but a good skin. It doesn't matter whether it's all right or not, as long as it can help the leader recover, we can't care so much about it. Quote question mark quote. The discussion between the two ended here. The next moment, Si Chen felt like a small boat in the sea, lifted up by the majestic spiritual energy of the two people, and flew quickly towards the interior of the White Feather God sect. Si Chen also issued a sign and instruction to the system at this critical moment. White Feather Sect, one of the 8 main peaks, on Rakshasa Peak. In a secret room, 2 old women were staring at the old man in front of them with turbid eyes. God Teller, tell me too, what happened to the leader? 2 guardians, I have already predicted this before. This is the sign of lost souls. Has your leader been to any of those ancient forbidden places recently? Opposite the 2 old women, the old man known as the fortune teller sat quietly on the futon and recounted the previous hexagram. The fortune teller feels that this whole thing is extremely strange. The majestic leader of the White Feather sect, the female devil who has made the entire Kanglan world frightened, can inexplicably fall into a state of soullessness. Losing one's soul, to put it bluntly, means that the body completely loses its ability to move, as if it has lost its soul and entered a vegetative state. This state can also be called stupor. After entering this state, people no longer have the ability to act. Whether they can perceive everything in the outside world depends on each person's situation. After Luo Juru fell into coma, the senior leaders of the White Feather God sect tried various methods, but none of them could wake up Luo Juru. It was also at this critical moment that Luo Juru's 2 personal guardians found the divine fortune teller who was famous in the Kanglan world. I hope he can figure out a way to wake up Luo Juru. The importance of Luo Juru to the White Feather sect is almost self-evident. The White Feather sect must not lose Luo Juru, otherwise the forces in Kanglan realm that were suppressed by the White Feather sect will definitely bite back at the first opportunity. Moreover, this long period of coma has caused Luo Juru's vitality to begin to drain away rapidly. If Luo Juru does not wake up, it is very likely that she will completely lose her vitality in this state. After the divine fortune teller was forcibly brought to the White Feather sect by 2 guardians, he also felt extremely troubled. He had already done some divination in advance. If he wanted to figure out a way to wake up Luo Juru, the cause and effect involved would be huge. However, looking at the shining swords in the hands of the 2 old women, the fortune teller still let out a long sigh. Divination, narrow escape from death. Without divination, there will be no life for 10 deaths. Although his cultivation is strong, it is not yet to the point where he can easily leave the White Feather God sect, a top demon sect. Oh, that's all. Let me bet on this one time. Afterwards, under the watchful eyes of the two old women, the divine fortune teller once again took out a hexagram disc and a tortoise shell, and the mysterious Bagua array also appeared at his feet. Buzz. A harsh buzzing sound sounded in the void. The hexagram disc in the divine fortune teller's hand began to rotate rapidly, and the lines on the tortoise shell began to flicker with light. As the pointer on the hexagram plate rotated faster and faster, blood began to seep out of the 7 orifices of the fortune teller, and his black hair turned white rapidly from the roots. Kakaka. A crisp cracking sound came from the tortoise shell and the hexagram disc. When the tortoise shell completely shattered in the hands of the divine fortune teller, his body also completely collapsed. Before he fell into coma, the fortune teller drew a portrait of a man in the air with his withered fingers and said to the two old women at the same time, "Find him, let him marry the leader of your sect, and perform the ceremony of husband and wife. This is the only way at the moment." Ding! Congratulations to the host for signing in next to the protector of the White Feather God sect in the late stage of the Cave Ruins realm. You will receive a reward. 1000 points, a tribute gift pack large *1. Being carried by the two guardians of the White Feather sect leader with spiritual energy, Si Chen was still in a state of confusion until now. What's going on? I was lying fine on the bed, and you slapped the door of my house away and then carried me away like a little chicken. However, feeling the terrifying aura emanating from the old woman's body and thinking about the previous system prompts, Si Chen was somewhat looking forward to what was going to happen next. There is no way, he really needs an opportunity to get close to the top leaders of the White Feather God sect. Si Chen has really had enough of that kind of system that has no system but cannot be used at all, and can only survive on the subsistence allowance every day. He wants to climb up, the higher the better. Seeing the two old women just flying in front without paying any attention to him, Si Chen had no choice but to ask, "Two seniors, what are we?" Finally, the two old women turned around and looked at Si Chen. "The two of us are the guardians of the White Feather God sect. My surname is Mu, and the surname next to me is Lu." "Mr. Mu, Mr. Lu." Si Chen bowed his hands and saluted. Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu nodded, and then said, "Next, we will take you to a place. Once there, you only need to follow your instincts to see and do it, and there is no need to express too many opinions." Quote? After the two of them finished speaking, they didn't say anything more and moved a little faster again. Soon, Si Chen saw the mountain peak hidden in the clouds and mist ahead. Mu Lao's voice also sounded at this time. "Ruksha Peak, one of the 8 main peaks of the White Feather sect, this is where the leader is." Rakshasa. As he murmured this name, Si Chen's mind suddenly recalled things rumored by the outside world about the leader of the White Feather sect. For a moment, words such as murderous, female devil, hideous and ugly flashed through Si Chen's mind one by one. But before Si Chen could think about it, the two guardians took him up to the Rakshasa Peak and came to a secret room made entirely of white jade ice. Just standing in front of the secret room, Si Chen could feel the powerful breath of life. Obviously, even this secret room is made of precious materials and treasures. Standing at the door of the secret room, Mr. Mu, one of the two guardians, looked at Si Chen and gently pushed open the door of the secret room. "Go in." Seeing the two guardians standing at the door who did not enter the secret room with him, Si Chen was a little confused for a moment. However, he did not hesitate and walked straight into the secret room. When you walk into the secret room, the first thing you see is the huge bed made of life crystals in the middle of the secret room. On the big bed, a woman wearing a white gauze skirt was lying quietly. The first time he saw this woman, Si Chen was stunned. Si Chen had to admit that from the time he traveled to this world until now, the woman in front of him was definitely the most beautiful person he had ever seen. Slightly frowning willow eyebrows, a straight nose, lips like dripping cherries, and tender and smooth skin as ice-like as snow. Perhaps due to the passage of life for a long time, the pretty face of the woman in front of him was a little pale at this time, but it gave her a more delicate beauty. "This is..." Si Chen will not forget what the two protectors said. "This is where the leader of the White Feather sect is located." Doesn't that mean that the person lying in front of him at this moment is Luo Juru, the leader of the White Feather God sect, the female devil that people call murderous without blinking an eye? According to rumors, Luo Juru, the leader of the White Feather sect, never shows his true face to others, and always wears a veil on his face when he appears in front of the public. Combined with her murderous character, over time, people privately said that her appearance must be ferocious and ugly. But now, actually standing in front of Luo Juru, Si-Chen understood the ability of marketing accounts to confuse right and wrong. However, looking at the woman who showed no signs of waking up, Si-Chen was also a little confused. He didn't understand the purpose of the two guardians letting him come here. Squeak. It was also at this time that the room door opened. Si-Chen turned around and saw Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu standing at the door of the room, and heard their undoubted voices. Now that we've met, let's get ready to get married. On this day, the news that Luo Juru, the leader of the White Feather sect, was about to get married spread throughout the Kanglan realm at an extremely terrifying speed. When they heard this news, all the forces in Kanglan realm were shocked. They all speculated about what kind of person Luo Juru would marry. The son of an ancient god, an ancient power, or a cauldron with a strange physique. No matter which one it is, everyone is convinced that the strength of the White Feather God sect will once again leap forward. And among the senior officials of the White Feather sect, where the information is more accurate, everyone also knows that Luo Juru will get married to a handyman disciple without any cultivation. This is the result calculated by the divine fortune teller using 70% of his own lifespan, and it is currently the only way to awaken Luo Juru. At the same time, the senior leaders of the White Feather sect also have the same understanding. If Luo Juru cannot wake up, then the so-called wife of the leader will also be buried with Luo Juru. And on Si-Chen's side. Obviously, Si-Chen also realized this, but Si-Chen still wanted to express. He is going crazy with joy. After marrying Luo Juru, the leader of the White Feather sect, he needs to stay by Luo Juru's side at all times, and Luo Juru is still unable to move. For Si-Chen, who owns the system, it is as if it is tailor-made for him. In this way, with all three parties having different thoughts, the wedding of Luo Juru, leader of the White Feather sect, came as scheduled. As the protagonists of the wedding, Si-Chen and Luo Juru didn't even need to show up. After all, everyone who came to give gifts was just here to give gifts. They didn't care at all whether Luo Juru showed up, they just needed to send their feelings. The senior leaders of the White Feather God sect will naturally take care of everything. The wedding night with flowers and candles. Si-Chen gently pushed open the door of the wedding room and saw Qian Ying lying quietly on the bed, wearing a red dress. But he knew that in the shadow behind Luo Juru, Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu were still there. Naturally, it was impossible for them to just hand over their leader to a person they had never met before, not to mention that Luo Juru had lost the ability to move now. Coming to Luo Juru's bed, Si-Chen sat on the edge of the bed and asked softly. Two guardians, how long has the leader been unconscious? It's been 1 month and 3 days. The two guardians in the shadows were also scrutinizing Si-Chen's every move at this time. They didn't know why the fortune teller said that marrying Si-Chen could awaken the leader. So they all agreed that this might be something mysterious, or could it be that Si-Chen was used to celebrate? Lost soul. Looking at Luo Juru's increasingly pale face, Si-Chen frowned slightly. Can the leader perceive everything in the outside world? The two guardians answered truthfully. We don't know this, because the leader can't convey any information to us at all. Then can the leader eat? As a time traveler from modern times, Si-Chen has some understanding of the state of vegetative state. After entering this state, except for retaining some instinctive nerve reflexes and the ability to metabolize matter and energy, the ability to move has been completely lost and there is no active activity. As for whether you can perceive everything in the outside world, it depends on each person's situation. But no matter what, it is extremely necessary to take in a certain amount of energy on a regular basis. No, Mr. Mu said. The leader has reached the realm of transcending tribulation. Even if he has not eaten for 100 years, it will not have any impact. Besides, we have also prepared a white jade bed made of life crystals for the leader. But have you ever thought that at this time she is no longer the powerful tribulation realm she once was? Si-Chen has been a handyman disciple of the White Feather God cult for some time, and Si-Chen is no longer the young boy who thought that a monk who can fly is an immortal. I also have some basic understanding of things between monks. The realms of Lingxiao continent are divided into Foundation Establishment Realm, Divine Treasure Realm, Purple Mansion Realm, Yuanshan Realm, Dongshu Realm, 2 Guardians, Tribulation Crossing Realm, Luo Juru, Hunyuan Realm, Supreme Realm, and Supreme Emperor. Si Chen said softly. I think the leader should be allowed to eat something regularly. After hearing Si Chen's words, Mr. Lu in the shadows looked at Mr. Mu, only to see him nodding. From Mu Lao's point of view, Si Chen's unusual calmness and calm judgment, coupled with his ability to be identified by the divine fortune teller, maybe that this unscrupulous man in front of him really has something different from ordinary people. It's because we didn't think well enough. Mr. Mu said, I wonder what we should prepare. Just some porridge. Soon, Mr. Mu appeared behind Si Chen again, holding a bowl of spiritual porridge filled with spiritual energy. Let me do it. Taking the bowl from Mr. Mu's hand, Si Chen came to the bedside, gently held Luo Juru's neck, and made her sit up halfway. Scooping out a spoonful of spiritual porridge, putting it to his mouth and blowing on it, Si Chen slowly brought it close to Luo Juru's lips. To everyone's surprise, Luo Juru, who was in a coma, actually swallowed the spiritual porridge. Seeing this scene, Si Chen raised his eyebrows, and he knew that his idea was right. So in the following time, Si Chen fed the bowl of spiritual porridge into Luo Juru's mouth one spoon after another. Finally, Si Chen looked at the trace of porridge stain left on the corner of Luo Juru's mouth and raised his hand to gently wipe it away for her. Then Si Chen didn't let Luo Juru lie down, but held her arm and let her sit for a while. When a person has just finished eating, it is best to stand upright for a while. Lying down immediately is not conducive to digestion. After a while, Si Chen let go of Luo Juru's arm and let her lie back on the white jade bed. It's strange to say that other people have a glass of wine on their wedding night, but for us, I actually fed you a bowl of porridge. Shaking his head and chuckling, Si Chen helplessly smoothed the messy hair on Luo Juru's forehead, and then withdrew his hand. After that, Si Chen just sat on the edge of the bed without moving any further. During the whole process, neither Mr. Mu nor Mr. Lu made a sound to stop it, they just watched quietly. They even had the illusion that the man in front of them was really too gentle and calm. Was he really just a handyman disciple with no cultivation? Lao Mu, maybe we should test his root talent for him. He really doesn't look like an ordinary person. Let's give it some time. Now is the critical moment for the leader to wake up, and it is not suitable to do other things. Then let's. Mr. Mu looked at Mr. Lu beside him. Do you still remember what the divine fortune teller said? Let's do the husband and wife ceremony. Let's stay outside the door. That's okay. The night is already deep. Si Chen, who was sitting beside Luo Juru's bed, couldn't help but doze off. After all, he was still an ordinary person at this time and had not embarked on the path of spiritual practice. Although his physical fitness is much stronger than that of ordinary people, there is still a limit after all. After checking Luo Juru's condition again, Si Chen found that her face had actually regained some of its rosy color. This made Si Chen feel happy. His guess was indeed correct. Although Luo Juru is already a powerful person in the late stage of Tribulation Realm, after entering this vegetative state, she still needs to absorb a certain amount of energy from the outside world. Si Chen picked up a quilt from the end of the bed and spread it on the ground beside Luo Juru's bed. Although it was the wedding night, it was impossible for Si Chen to really do anything to Luo Juru. Putting aside Luo Juru's willingness or not, Si Chen would never be able to do anything based on her current state. He is not a beast. However, Si Chen has not forgotten that now that noon has passed, he can sign in again. Gently holding Luo Juru's hand, Si Chen issued a sign-in instruction to the system. There are 2 prerequisites for system sign-in: distinguished status and sign-in distance. Si Chen has already arrived beside Luo Juru. Of course he wants to be as close to her as possible. Ding! Congratulations to the host for signing in next to Luo Juru, the leader of the White Feather sect in the late stage of the Tribulation Realm. Obtained rewards: 5,000 points, attribute gift pack, luxury, *1. Today's discounted items. The prefecture level mid-level exercise, Resurrection Buddha's Hand, is priced at 10,000 yuan, with a 40% discount. Attribute gift pack, large, priced at 1,000, 20% off. Grade classification: Huang, Zan, Earth, heaven, creation, king, saint, emperor. Each level is divided into upper, middle and lower grades. After signing in, Si-Chen looked at Luo Juru for a long time. Finally, he held Luo Juru's hand and murmured softly, "Can you feel, we are getting married?" Lying on the ground next to Luo Juru, Si-Chen turned his attention to the system interface. After receiving 5,000 points and a luxurious attribute gift pack again, Si-Chen couldn't help but sigh. He is worthy of being the leader of the most powerful demon sect. This reward is much richer than any of his previous ones. Points can be used by Si-Chen to purchase daily discounted products. The attribute gift pack allows Si-Chen to obtain attribute points that can be used at will. Including the few days he signed in with the two guardians, Si-Chen now has 8,000 points, 3 attribute gift packs large and 1 attribute gift pack luxury. The attribute gift packs rewarded by the system are also divided into different sizes: mini, small, medium, large, and luxury. Contains 0.5, 1, 2, 3, and 5 attribute points respectively. After opening all the attribute gift packs, Si-Chen couldn't help but hesitate a little as to which item he should add attribute points to. In the past, he was an ordinary person and only interacted with ordinary people, so he added all his attribute points to strength. But now, where he is, there is no ordinary person left. After thinking for a long time, Si-Chen finally added 14 plus the previous 3 points, a total of 17 attribute points, to his qualifications. As a time traveler, Si-Chen naturally knows how important qualifications are to a monk. After adding points, his qualification has changed from 30 before to 47 now. If it is true that according to the system, the average value of ordinary people is 10, then he is now many times higher than ordinary people. After doing all this, Si-Chen looked at today's discounted products. First of all, the attribute gift pack must be purchased. After all, this is the main way for him to improve his strength. After buying the attribute gift pack first, Si-Chen's eyes fell on that skill again. Resurrection Buddha's Hand, a special technique derived from ancient Buddhism, which can rejuvenate people and has excellent healing effects. After looking at this technique and the beautiful figure lying on the white jade bed, Si-Chen finally decided to buy it. At this point, Si-Chen's qualifications have become 50, and only 1,200 points are left of the 8,000 points he worked so hard to obtain. He didn't feel bad at all for paying points to buy a technique that was useful to Luo Juru. However, Si-Chen now faces a very serious problem. He doesn't understand cultivation at all and has no spiritual power in his body. How can he operate the Resurrection Buddha's Hand? Although the things the system sells every day are good, they are all based on his certain spiritual power. But just as Si-Chen was lying on the floor and tossing and turning, he suddenly realized something. He is no longer the handyman disciple he was back then. He is now the leader of the White Feather God sect. Madam. Although the title is a bit strange, it can also give Si-Chen a lot of things. Si-Chen got up from the ground, pushed open the door of the room and came outside the room. Two guardians, are you here? Here I am. With almost no waiting, Mr. Emu's voice immediately sounded in Si-Chen's ears. And Si-Chen also told them his purpose of coming. I want a book that can help me get started, is that okay? After Si-Chen finished speaking, Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu, who were hiding in the dark, also fell into a brief silence. After a while, Mr. Emu's voice came again. Of course you can, but I don't know why the young master wants to practice. Why practice? Si-Chen was slightly stunned. But he still said softly, maybe it's because I don't want to see her lying there like this, but I can't do anything about it. Or maybe it's because my self-esteem doesn't allow me to be so weak. Sir, please wait a moment. Unknowingly, the two guardians' names for Si-Chen also changed. Not long after, Mr. Mu in the shadows appeared in front of Si-Chen holding an ancient scroll. Sir, this is the technique that the outer disciples of the divine sect learn when they first enter. I don't know what the master's qualifications are now, but I think he should be able to successfully enter the foundation building stage within half a month. There is one thing that Mr. Mu has not said yet, that is, those talented disciples usually enter the foundation building period within 3 to 7 days. However, in order not to hurt Si-Chen's self-esteem, she still turned 7 days into half a month. Si-Chen took the skill scroll from Mr. Emu's hand and nodded to her gratefully. Thank you very much. You're welcome, sir, just follow your heart. Mr. Mew nodded. It depends on you for the leader to wake up. Then, Mr. Mew's figure slowly disappeared again, and Si Chen also returned to the room. Coming to Luo Juru's bedside, Si Chen held her catkin hand with his big hand. I don't know if you can hear me, but I am going to start practicing. After I have spiritual energy in my body, I can help you recover. I don't know how long it will take me to get started with my talent. How long did it take for you to get started? Half a month. They all say that you are extremely talented and you should be able to get started quickly. Is it 7 days? This is Luo Juru's spiritual world. In the boundless darkness, Luo Juru felt as if she had fallen into some kind of dream that she could never wake up from. Here, her world has no color at all, and she has even lost her most basic ability to think. But after all, she is a famous leader of the demon cult, and she is expected to become an empress in the future. In the darkness, Luo Juru could sense what state she had entered, and could also vaguely guess why she had entered this state. But, she couldn't tell, she couldn't express her feelings to anyone. At first, Luo Juru's perception of the outside world was very vague, and she couldn't even hear the slightest sound. But gradually, Luo Juru felt that her perception seemed to have recovered a little, and the sounds from the outside world began to gradually reach her ears. She heard the 2 guardians beside her lamenting every day and night and trying their best to find a way to cure her. She wanted to tell them why she was like this, but she couldn't. She also heard the hypocritical concern of the elders who came to visit her. Later, Luo Juru became more aware of the outside world. It was also at this time that she desperately felt that the life in her body was rapidly passing away. It is the evil force that puts him into a state of soullessness, swallowing his vitality bit by bit. She couldn't speak, couldn't express any of her thoughts to the outside world, she could only watch helplessly. Watching your vitality passing away little by little, watching your life coming to an end little by little. Her cultivation level in the tribulation realm can no longer sustain her body's needs, because after entering the soulless state, the spiritual energy in her meridians has even stopped functioning. Luo Juru didn't want this. Although she was hailed as a murderous female devil by the world, she would still be trapped by the suffocation caused by death. Time passed like this, and Luo Juru could also feel that the vitality in his body was getting weaker day by day. Perhaps, it won't be long before she really fulfills those people's wishes, passes away, and hands over the white feather sect that she worked so hard to manage. She hated it, she wished she could kill all those people with malicious intentions, and she even hated that she could no longer protect the last thing left to her by her master. Gradually, the sounds in Luo Juru's ears became less and less. Because as time went by, it was no longer possible for the elders of the divine sect to visit her again. The 2 guardians also went out to look for the fortune teller and could no longer stay by her side. At this time, Luo Juru could only quietly feel the passage of her life alone in the boundless darkness. That feeling suffocated her. She wanted to scream loudly, to completely release her power in the late stage of the tribulation realm and destroy everything around her. But she couldn't do it, she knew she was going to die. At this moment, Luo Juru suddenly found that his palm seemed to be held by a pair of slightly rough hands. The long-term threat of darkness and death had left Luo Juru in a daze, but she could still feel the warmth coming from her palms. At the same time, after a long period of loneliness, an extremely gentle voice sounded in Luo Juru's ears. My name is Si Chen, can you hear me? We are married. We are married. At first, Luo Juru was a little happy when the voice that had been silent for a long time came again. She even felt that before she died, at least there were others around her, so she wouldn't die too lonely. But when she heard the words of the man beside her, Luo Juru exploded instantly. Married, married, married. For a time, Si Chen's name and the 3 words, married, kept lingering in her mind, even reawakening her already somewhat sluggish spirit. The first thought in her mind was, thief, you dare to touch my body. When I wake up, I will kill you. For all her life, Luo Juru has never been touched by anyone of the opposite gender, and even her true face is rarely seen by the opposite gender. But now, there is a man sitting beside her bed, holding her hand and telling her, she is married to him. Luo Juru simply couldn't accept it. She even wanted to stand up like a carp and ask Mr. Mew and Mr. Lu what they were thinking. However, just when Luo Juru was thinking about how to cut the man who touched her body to pieces, she noticed that the man beside her moved again. He asked Mr. Mew for a bowl of porridge. Luo Juru found herself being hugged by the man beside her. She heard the sound of the man blowing gently on the porridge in the spoon. Afterwards, Luo Juru noticed that the warm porridge flowed into her mouth, and the long-lost taste of food continued to flow in her mouth. Why would he know that I need food? Can he sense the state of my body? One spoonful after another, until Luo Juru finished the entire bowl of porridge, she was still a little unsatisfied. She has not taken in energy for too long, and her body is extremely weak. She cannot absorb the power from the outside world, such as a bed made of life crystals. She needs food. After finishing all the porridge, Luo Juru noticed the big hands of the man beside her wiping the porridge stains from the corners of her mouth. These intimate gestures once again ignited Luo Juru, who had just calmed down. Thief, just wait for me. When I wake up, I will make you taste the most extreme pain in the world. It's strange to say that other people have a glass of wine on their wedding night, but for us, I actually fed you a bowl of porridge. The man's gentle words came again, and Luo Juru couldn't help but think angrily. You still want to have a drink? I'll give you a knife. However, Luo Juru could not convey any of her thoughts to the outside world, so she could only listen to the man's voice in the darkness. Rustling. The sound of the quilt rubbing against her ears made Luo Juru's heart suddenly lift. Could this thief want to? But the next second Luo Juru heard the sound of Si Chen hitting the floor. This made Luo Juru breathe a sigh of relief, but at the same time she began to worry about the marriage again. Even Luo Juru herself didn't realize that the appearance of the man next to her made her originally dead heart stir up again, and it was no longer just full of will to die. But this wave of waves is all aimed at cutting Si Chen into pieces with 1,000 swords. Don't look around, and the spirit returns to the heart, which is the foundation of tranquility. Keep your mind focused, stay one, stop thinking, and enter tranquility. Naturally, Si Chen didn't know what Luo Juru was thinking. What he had to do now was to enter the realm of foundation building as soon as possible. Sitting cross-legged next to Luo Juru's bed, Si Chen muttered the techniques needed to build the foundation. According to the records of the method, Si Chen tried to incorporate the spiritual energy of heaven and earth floating around his body into his own meridians. It has to be said that although this bed made of life crystals has no effect on Luo Juru, it does provide Si Chen with a large amount of spiritual energy at this moment. Almost in an instant, Si Chen felt a faint mysterious aura flowing into his body. Once again following the teachings, Si Chen began to absorb the spiritual energy around him at a faster rate. Boom! It was like thunder exploding in his body. After just a few breaths, Si Chen was able to clearly sense the spiritual energy existing in the heaven and earth. And the speed at which these spiritual energy entered his body was extremely fast. As this, foundation building. Spreading his hands, Si Chen felt the throbbing in his body at this moment, and at the same time he murmured in a daze. Didn't Mr. Mew say it would take half a month? Coming to Luo Juru's bedside, Si Chen held his chin with his hand and whispered to her, I successfully built the foundation, isn't it fast? My qualifications shouldn't be very bad, right? Don't worry, after I get a little familiar with the flow of spiritual energy in my body, I can help you recover. Looking at Luo Juru lying quietly in front of him, Si Chen couldn't help but stretched out his finger and poked Luo Juru's face. Do you want to see what I look like? I think I'm quite handsome. The aunts in the village said they wanted to betroth their daughters to me, but I didn't agree. I didn't expect that I would actually marry someone more. It's so beautiful. By the way, why do you always like to wear a veil? I don't think you are very ugly. What Si Chen didn't know was that although Luo Juru in front of her couldn't say anything to him, she could hear what Si Chen said to her and feel what was happening around her. When she sensed that Si Chen had successfully built the foundation in just a few breaths, Luo Juru felt a little doubtful about life. Si Chen asked her before how long it took her to build the foundation. She wanted to proudly tell Si Chen, I succeeded in building the foundation in an hour. I envy you so much. You thief. However, when she really sensed Si Chen's foundation building time, even though she had gone through all kinds of experiences, she was a little stunned. The foundation was successfully established in just a few breaths. What kind of monster are you? But don't look at you now. When I wake up, the first thing I will do is kill you. When Luo Juru heard what Si Chen said, that after getting familiar with spiritual energy, he would restore her body, she was stunned again. Luo Juru couldn't figure it out. She couldn't figure out whether what Si Chen said was true or false. She couldn't even figure out why Si Chen was so interested in a woman he married out of nowhere. But the next second, how dare you poke me in the face? You say I'm ugly. Your whole family is ugly. You're so mean to me. I really want to give you a knife. Luo Juru, who was still entangled 1 second, exploded the next second, and all she could think about was making Si Chen pay a heavy price. Si Chen didn't tease Luo Juru anymore, although he didn't know if Luo Juru could hear him. Luo Juru could feel that the man beside him seemed to be lying back on his own bed. But the next second, Si Chen's head slowly rose again, and at the same time he whispered to Luo Juru, "Madam, good night." After Si Chen said these last words, he quickly returned to his warm bed, rolled left and right, raised his feet, and after wrapping himself in a quilt, he groaned with satisfaction. As for Luo Juru, when she heard the last words Si Chen said to herself, "Thief, who are you calling a lady? Do you think that if you hold a wedding, I will recognize your identity? There is no way. I'm so angry that I can't calm down, so it's better for you to just sleep whenever you want." "No, I can't die, I have to kill you first." Si Chen and Luo Juru's wedding night passed in such a strange state. The next day, when the sun shone into the room through the window, Si Chen stretched out greatly. Sitting on the ground, Si Chen subconsciously turned his head and looked at the white jade bed beside him. When he saw the beautiful figure on the bed, a dazed look flashed in his eyes. All this was not a dream, he really married the leader of the demon cult, and she was so beautiful. Coming to Luo Juru's bedside, Si Chen poked her fair and delicate cheek with his finger just like before. "Good morning, madam, are you still sleeping?" Dong dong dong. At this time, there was a knock on the door outside the room. "Sir, the morning meal and porridge are ready." Hearing the sound outside the room, Si Chen put on his clothes and then stepped forward and opened the door. "I'd like to trouble you two protectors. Just put my food on the table first. I'll feed the leader before eating." Si Chen's words fell, but he didn't receive any response, which made him raise his head and look at Mr. Mu in front of him with some doubts. "Mr. Mu, Mr. Lu, you established the foundation." Standing outside the door, Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu looked at Si Chen standing in front of them with incredulous eyes, their eyes full of astonishment. Si Chen touched the back of his head. "Maybe I'm a little different from others. I only spent a few breaths yesterday to successfully build the foundation." How many breaths? To be honest, when the two guardians handed Si Chen the foundation building skills yesterday, they both felt that if he could successfully build the foundation within 7 days, they would be satisfied. But now, in just one night, they saw that Si Chen had reached the foundation building stage. Although the foundation establishment realm is very weak, the time it takes for an ordinary person to enter the foundation establishment realm has a great relationship with his qualifications. For those geniuses, qualifications and foundation can be said to be the most important things. It can be said that if diligence can determine a person's lower limit, then qualifications and foundation can determine a person's upper limit. It seems that it is necessary to test his qualifications. After that, after placing the food on the table in the room, Mr. Mu stepped forward to check Luo Juru's body. Seeing Luo Juru's neat clothes and her somewhat rosy complexion, Mr. Mu couldn't help but feel a little more satisfied with Si Chen. Yesterday, they were still worried about what Si Chen would do to Luo Juru, who had lost the ability to move. But now looking at Luo Juru's condition, they couldn't help but feel relieved. "Please treat me to a meal, sir." After saying this, Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu left the room, leaving only Si Chen and Luo Juru in the room. "Good morning. I was so angry that I couldn't sleep all night." It wasn't until she felt herself being picked up by Si Chen again and leaning against his arms like a little bird that Luo Juru finally regained consciousness. Last night, she tossed and turned for a long time in that dark environment. The thing that made her toss and turn was whether Si Chen should be cut into pieces or should be made into a human pig and tortured every day. HMPH, have you started feeding me porridge again? Don't think I don't know what you are thinking. Leaning in Si Chen's arms, listening to his gentle blowing sound and feeling his gentle movements, Luo Juru hummed softly. HMPH, feed me a few more times and I will stab you less often. Si Chen naturally didn't know what Luo Juru was thinking. After feeding Luo Juru a bowl of spiritual porridge, he took out an ancient scroll. System, practice, Resurrection Buddha's hand. As soon as he finished speaking, the scroll in Si Chen's hand turned into rays of light and entered the center of his eyebrows. At the same time, everything about the Resurrection Buddha's hand also appeared in his mind. After entering the foundation building realm, Si Chen's meridians already had spiritual energy flowing, and he could finally use the Resurrection Buddha's hand. Madam, can you hear me? After pinching the pretty nose of the woman in his arms, Si Chen continued to mutter. Someone told me before that people in a vegetative state cannot lie down all day, because that will make the already weak body even more unable to make ends meet. It's just that it's only for ordinary people. I don't know if it's applicable to someone as powerful as you. But no matter what, it won't go wrong to give it a try. As he spoke, Si Chenchuo lifted Luo Juru to sit up, and at the same time raised her arms and massaged her gently. While massaging, Si Chen's hands began to glow with a faint golden green light, and vitality came from Si Chen's hands. Let me tell you first, I am not massaging you because you are soft and slippery. I am massaging you to heal you. Because he had just built the foundation, the spiritual power in Si Chen's meridians was still a little thin, so every time he massaged for a while, he needed to stop and run the technique to restore the spiritual power in his body. However, Si Chen had no intention of stopping at all, and still helped Luo Juru massage her arms with great gentleness. What do you mean, madam, is this method okay? Come on, take a look at the cards in your hand. Ah, it's so crispy and numb. What kind of method is he using? Why have I never heard of it? No, no, you dare to touch my body so much. I can't stand it anymore. Just wait for death. Just when Si Chen was using Resurrection Buddha's hand to help Luo Juru massage, Luo Juru also felt the numbing sensation coming from her arms. Luo Juru had to admit that her body really needed energy and vitality. In this long-term state of soullessness, the vitality in her body was almost lost, which also made her body extremely weak. But the man in front of her seemed to know what she needed, and would often provide her with what she needed most at the moment. Thief, don't call me a lady. Do you want to die? Also, what is the card in your hand? Luo Juru could feel that she was like a rag doll at this time, being twisted around by Si Chen. But her body still enjoyed this feeling, and she was also very curious about some of the novel things Si Chen said. Suddenly realizing this, Luo Juru couldn't accept it. I have been killing people in Kanglan realm for 10 years, and my heart has long been as cold as stone. You can't even think of making any waves in my heart. Madam, you know, actually until now, I feel like I'm in a trance. Huh, what is he talking about? Si Chen's sudden voice made Luo Juru pause for a moment. Si Chen said softly while massaging Luo Juru's arms. Obviously 1 day ago, I was still a handyman disciple, but now I have become your husband-in-law inexplicably. Well, maybe when you wake up, you won't admit it, and you might want to kill me to silence me. Luo Juru, it seems you can see clearly. You were right, when I wake up, the first thing I want to do is to kill you. However, just as Luo Juru was thinking about it, what Si Chen said next made her pause slightly. Actually, I know that although I am married to you now, no one will recognize me. I even understand that if you really can't wake up, madam, I will become your burial object. But I'm not afraid at all. Haha, I don't know why. The fact is just as Si Chen said, it is still unknown whether Luo Juru can wake up. If there is still hope of waking up, then he can remain stable. But if Luo Juru completely loses the possibility of waking up, he will definitely become Luo Juru's burial object, and there will be no other possibility. However, Si Chen did not have the slightest fear or regret. Perhaps it was the long period of living that made him no longer afraid of life and death. In his opinion, instead of living as a handyman disciple, it would be better to give it a try. Is he, blaming me. But he said he wasn't afraid. Luo Juru, who was originally angry because Si Chen touched her body 1 second, thought more about his words the next second. Luo Juru had to admit that it was indeed because of herself that he was infected with all these causes and effects. At the same time, Luo Juru couldn't help but feel a little strange. She should obviously ignore these things. After all, countless people had died in her hands. But now, Si Chen finished massaging both Luo Juru's arms, gently helped her tidy up the sleeves on her arms, then stood up and walked towards the end of the bed. He said softly, "I will become very strong, strong enough to wake you up, at least I won't let anyone look down on me." "Are you right, madam? But it may take some time for me to catch up with you." "Humph, you do have some ambitions. Since you are so ambitious, I will let you live for 2 more days. But if you want to catch up with me, just dream." "Ah, it's so itchy. How dare you touch my feet?" At the end of the bed, Si Chen sat beside the bed and slowly took off the silk socks from Luo Juru's feet. At this time, Luo Juru's delicate jade-like feet were also exposed to the air. Holding the little feet that looked like works of art, Si Chen's hands were filled with golden green light and he began to gently help Luo Juru massage the soles of her feet. "You're still rubbing it back and forth. Ah, you're dead. Ah, so sour. Ah, so numb. Ah, so comfortable." In Luo Juru's spiritual world, she felt Si Chen's slightly rough hands holding her feet, feeling the soreness and comfort coming from the soles of her feet. Luo Juru only felt ashamed and angry. However, she had to admit that under Si Chen's strange techniques, her weak body actually improved. It's just that this posture is really too embarrassing. In the past, no one had even seen her true face, but now, her feet, the most sensitive of a woman, were held in Si Chen's hands and kneaded. I must kill to relieve the hatred in my heart." After Si Chen finished massaging Luo Juru's feet, he helped her put on her white silk socks and stretched out. "Madam, can you feel it? Do you feel better? Bah, you're so big. I'll give you a knife. I have to practice as soon as possible. After all, I still have to catch up with you." Gently helping Luo Juru cover herself with the quilt, Si Chen leaned down and looked at Luo Juru's beautiful face, and a thought flashed through his mind. Would the reward be better if I signed in during the kiss? How about trying tomorrow? Once this idea appeared, it took root completely in Si Chen's mind. He also sat cross-legged against Luo Juru's white jade bed and began to practice the cultivation techniques given to him by Mr. Mu. In Si Chen's own opinion, his qualifications reaching 50 should allow him to practice quickly. Should he be called a genius? It seems that next time the system refreshes the practice techniques, it needs to be saved. Running the technique, Si Chen quickly began to absorb the majestic spiritual energy around him, and soon devoted his whole body and mind to it. What Si Chen didn't know was that Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu were silently watching what had just happened in the shadows. His technique is very novel. I have never seen it before. Could it be a Buddhist technique? No matter what, you and I can see that he is really good to the leader. That's true. It's just that his character is too plain. He doesn't look like a handyman disciple at all. Mr. Mu also nodded at this time, acknowledging Mr. Lu's words. You can tell from the fact that he can build a foundation in just a few breaths, he is definitely not an ordinary person. Mr. Lu asked again, then perhaps, he can really wake up the leader. Mu Lao replied. Let's see later, after all, he has not married the leader yet. Ahem. Mr. Lu couldn't help but feel guilty. Since the leader knows about this, neither you nor I can run away. It doesn't matter, as long as the leader can wake up, it doesn't matter if I leave my life to the leader. Look, he is here. Just as the two guardians were talking to each other, Mr. Lu suddenly grabbed Mr. Mu's arm beside him, and the two of them cast their eyes towards Si Chen in unison. At this moment, Si Chen was seen sitting cross-legged beside Luo Juru's bed, with spiritual energy surging around his body, pouring into his body like a dragon entering the sea. And he himself has been completely immersed in absorbing spiritual energy, and his cultivation level has begun to rise rapidly. Is this an epiphany? Seeing Si Chen entering a state of enlightenment, Mr. Mu looked at Mr. Lu beside him with a look of disbelief. What level is he in? He's building a foundation. It's not foundation building anymore, it's just been promoted to the realm of Shen Zhang. Quote. At this time, Mr. Mew and Mr. Lu were in the shadows, and only each other could see the shock on their faces. After a long time, Mr. Mew said helplessly, I suspect that he is a peerless evildoer hidden in the snow by some ancient tribe. By chance, he came to the divine sect and became a handyman disciple. Lao Lu, let's go to the Kung Fu Pavilion and help him find some high-level Kung Fu. By the time Si Chen came out of his state of enlightenment, the sky outside the house had darkened. At this time, Si Chen also quickly looked at the bed beside him. When he saw Luo Juru lying there quietly, his expression relaxed. Standing up, feeling the power coming from his body that was several times stronger than before, Si Chen couldn't help but nodded. Turning his head, Si Chen also saw the spiritual porridge and several volumes of ancient exercises placed on the table in the room. Sir, these are some exercises that I have selected for you from the Kung Fu Pavilion. You can practice them with confidence. If you don't understand, you can ask me and you. At this time, Mr. Mew's voice came from the shadows. At the same time, Mr. Mew and Mr. Lu walked towards the door. Sir, I kept the porridge warm with my spiritual power. You can feed it to the leader. Excuse me, seniors. Si Chen bowed slightly towards Mr. Mew and Mr. Lu. No matter what the reason was, it was obvious that the two guardians in front of him were kind to him, so Si Chen would not begrudge his gratitude either. After feeding Luo Juru the porridge as before, Si Chen let her lean into his arms. While stroking her black and smooth hair, Si Chen asked softly in her ear, Madam, do you want a massage? I have made great progress in cultivation now, and my techniques are probably even more skillful. Yes. You can't hear me anyway, so I can't talk nonsense. Let me see how you behave. If you don't behave well, I'll kill you. You can't say anything, but I'll take it as your acquiescence. As Si Chen said this, he continued to massage Luo Juru. He could see that after the massage in the morning, Luo Juru's face had recovered a lot and was no longer as pale as before. This also made Si Chen feel happy, which also showed that his guess was right. You still know what's going on. But you'd better stop pinching my feet. Otherwise I'll crush your head. Madam, let's start from the feet this time. Single quote ? Could he be able to hear what I'm thinking and then deliberately go against me? It's even stronger than in the morning. Sitting at the end of the bed, Si Chen gently massaged Luo Juru's little feet as if he were playing with a work of art. The majestic vitality derived from the Resurrection Buddha's hand also entered her body from the acupuncture points on Luo Juru's feet. It was late at night. Si Chen helped Luo Juru lie down and whispered to her at the same time. Madam, we don't like this. It's just that it's late at night and it's time to sleep. Don't get me wrong. I pressed my feet for an hour, and pressed my arms for a quarter of an hour, right? Just wait, I have to give you a knife. At midnight, when the moon rises to the highest point in the sky, the soft moonlight shines into the room. Feeling the vitality coming from her body, Luo Juru was very confused at this time. Although this thief always touches my body, he seems to be really nice to me, so when I wake up, I'll stab you less often. As for getting married, I don't want it. In the midst of all these chaotic thoughts, Luo Juru couldn't help but feel a little sleepy in her mind. After her body entered a soulless state, she still needed to replenish some sleep regularly. But just when Luo Juru was about to fall asleep, she suddenly noticed that Si Chen, who had been lying on the ground, started to squirm furtively. Si Chen wrapped his body in the quilt and wriggled towards Luo Juru's bed like a caterpillar. When he came to the bed, Si Chen threw off the quilt and tiptoed onto Luo Juru's bed. Madam, can you hear me? Lying next to Luo Juru, listening to her even heartbeat, Si Chen couldn't help but feel a little nervous at this time. He tilted his head towards Luo Juru and rested his head on her pillow. Si Chen turned his head and looked at Luo Juru. We're married, are you right? Then can you kiss me? Single quote ! Luo Juru, who was already very sleepy, felt that when he heard Si Chen's words, he suddenly became more awake than when he broke through the tribulation realm. She has never been so sober in her life. Okay, it's okay for you. I take back what I just said. Not only will I stab you a few times, I will also turn you into a hornet's nest. Don't come over here. Turning his head and looking at Luo Juru's delicate face, Chen blushed. But the next second, he slowly lowered his head and kissed Luo Juru's cherry lips. When their lips were pressed together, a strange feeling came from their lips, which was a little cool but very soft. After a long time, the lips parted, and Chen and Luo Juru's cheeks were less than an inch apart. Chen even felt Luo Juru's somewhat warm breath. Good night, madam. After saying this quickly, Chen quickly got out of bed and returned directly to his bed. At this time, Luo Juru's heart was filled with overwhelming emotions. Ah, I was so defiled, and I was kissed by this thief so easily. However, this feels so strange. His lips are so rough, not smooth at all. It seems like he doesn't drink water. No, what on earth am I thinking? I have to think of how to kill him. Luo Juru, who suddenly woke up, quickly corrected her thoughts. HMPH, you'd better not touch me again in the future, otherwise I will condemn you fiercely in my heart. After thinking about it, Luo Juru couldn't come up with a reason. After all, she really could only be at Chen's mercy now. She can't even move a finger. I'm so upset. I'm so angry that I can't sleep again. No matter what, continue to study how to torture him after waking up. At the same time, the system's beep sounded in Chen's ears. Ding! Congratulations to the host for signing in on the lips of demon cult leader Luo Juru in the late stage of the Tribulation Realm, and getting 8,000 bonus points. Attribute Gift Pack Luxury. Heaven Level Top Grade Heavenly Material and Earthly Treasure, Xuanian Spiritual Milk. Quote. God is signing on your lips. You don't have to say it in such detail. After complaining about the system, Chen's attention was also attracted by the system's rewards. Just as Chen guessed, the closer you are to Luo Juru, the richer the reward for signing in will be. This time, in addition to earning 3,000 more sign-in points than before, there was also an additional reward of heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Tian Level Top Grade, Xuanian Spiritual Milk. Looking at the milky white liquid suspended in his hand, Chen, although he was only at the Shenzang realm, could still sense the majestic and extreme spiritual power and life energy contained in it. Chen could even clearly sense how much his body yearned for this spiritual treasure. However, Chen looked at the Xuanian spirit milk in his hand, then turned his head and looked at the beautiful figure on the white jade bed. A long time. Taking a long breath, Chen came to Luo Juru's bed. Madam, this thing is called Xuanian spiritual milk. The name sounds girly. I don't want to use it at all. Holding Luo Juru's neck and lifting her up, Chen looked at her pretty face that had regained some of its rosy color, and kept comforting himself. If anything happens to her, you will be buried with her. So why are you so hesitant? This thing is supposed to be used by women. It's just right for her. You also earned 8,000 points and an attribute gift pack for nothing. Madam, I gave you my most precious thing, so it's not too much for me to ask for a kiss every day, right? As he spoke, Chen also took the Xuanian spirit milk in his hand and then slowly leaned down. Just like before, Chen's lips and Luo Juru's soft lips touched again. Only this time, Chen used his tongue to gently pry open Luo Juru's teeth, and slowly put the Xuanian spiritual milk into Luo Juru's mouth. The moment Xuanian spiritual milk containing powerful vitality entered Luo Juru's body, the majestic vitality and spiritual power instantly poured into her meridians. Her complexion was also returning to rosy color at a speed visible to the naked eye. Heaven level top grade heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Treasures of this level are extremely precious even in the entire White Feather God sect. What's more, it is a natural treasure specially used to replenish vitality and extend lifespan. After a long time, the lips parted, and Chen couldn't help but pursed his lips. Putting Luo Juru back on the bed gently, Chen said with a smile, just consider this kiss as reward. This is a top-grade heaven-level product. Why does he have such a thing? The moment Xuanian spiritual milk appeared in the room, Luo Juru, who was lying on the bed, noticed the majestic vitality. At the same time, she was also deeply shocked. Could it be that his background is extraordinary? Otherwise, How could he take out such a precious thing casually? Single quote. With the help of this thing, coupled with this thief's incredible qualifications, his cultivation should make a huge breakthrough in a short period of time. And just when Luo Juru was thinking wildly, she suddenly noticed Si Chen walking towards her. After that, she heard Si Chen's tangled words. Madam, this thing is called Xuanian spiritual milk. When you hear the name, it sounds girly. I don't want to use it at all. For a moment, Luo Juru was stunned. She couldn't even believe what she heard. Heavenly top grade. Luo Juru had to admit that even she was extremely excited by a treasure of this level. What's more, she is now in such a state of urgent need for vitality, so she needs this thing even more. But she never thought about letting this thing belong to her, and she never thought that Si Chen would give up a treasure of this level to her. As a Si Chen who has just embarked on the journey of cultivation, the importance of this thing is almost self-evident. But he used a very lame excuse to give it to her. If anything happens to her, you will be buried with her. So why are you so hesitant? This thing was originally meant for women. It's just right for her. From Si Chen's words, Luo Juru could tell that Si Chen was very confused and longed for this thing. But he is still trying hard to convince himself. Is he a fool? How can you give this kind of thing away to others? He must be crazy. He must be pretending. Madam, I gave you my most precious thing, so it's not too much for me to ask for a kiss every day, right? What Si Chen said next completely broke Luo Juru's suspicion. She knew that Si Chen was really planning to give Xuanian spirit milk to her. Are you stupid to exchange such an important thing for a kiss that has no effect? You are so stupid. Unknowingly, Luo Juru started to worry about Si Chen. Even though the recipient of the gift was herself, Luo Juru was still anxious for Si Chen. Feeling herself being picked up and feeling the snorts getting closer and closer to her, Luo Juru felt that she was in a very strange state. She only felt that her head was in a mess, and a very complicated emotion arose in her heart. She wanted to scold Si Chen for being stupid, but feeling the touch on her lips, she realized that Si Chen's tongue had opened her teeth, and then the Xuanian spiritual milk containing the majestic vitality was also sent into her, in the mouth. You idiot, when I wake up, I'll give you a knife if I say anything. Xuanian spiritual milk entered the body, and Luo Juru could clearly feel that her dry body was recovering rapidly. However, there was not much joy in Luo Juru's heart at this moment, but only complicated emotions towards Si Chen's silly move. Afterwards, Luo Juru found that Si Chen had put her back on the bed, and at the same time, he gently trimmed her hair. Consider this kiss as payment. You idiot, how is this possible? Luo Juru, who had been completely sleepless at first, felt better now and couldn't sleep at all. Just think of this as the price you pay for touching my feet and kissing me. At worst, I'll chop you less often. After Si Chen felt that Luo Juru's body had completely absorbed the Xuanian spirit milk, he couldn't help but feel a little relieved when he looked at her delicate and pretty face that had returned to a rosy color. After a long stretch, Si Chen lay back on his bed and began to study today's discounted products. Today's discounted products. A tribute gift pack medium priced at 600, 30% off. The heaven level low grade exercise, Naling Shi Ju, is priced at 30,000 with a 50% discount. Zong level high grade elixir, hidden spirit pill, priced at 1,500, 20% off. First of all, there was no need to hesitate. He bought the attribute gift pack first, and he had 8,780 points left. Then Si Chen looked at the heaven-level low-grade exercise, Naling Shi Ju. This is what he urgently needs now. As his cultivation level improved, the cultivation techniques that the two guardians gave him were no longer enough. However, looking at the 50% off price of the 30,000 points, Si Chen finally had no choice but to lock it in first and wait until he accumulated enough points to buy it. You can select one of the products refreshed by the system every day to be locked. After locking, this item will not be refreshed the next day, only other one or two items will be refreshed. At this point, Si Chen's system backpack contains 8,780 points, as well as one large and one medium attribute gift pack. After opening the attribute gift pack, Si Chen received a total of 5 free attribute points. What is it added to? After thinking about it for a while, Si Chen finally decided to continue to increase his qualifications. Si Chen didn't know what the qualifications of those geniuses were, so he just added points without thinking to reduce the gap between himself and those geniuses as much as possible. After doing all this, Si Chen looked at Luo Juru next to him. "Good night, lady." The next day, Si Chen was woken up early by a knock on the door. Si Chen got up and went to open the door. He also heard the conversation coming from the door. "Sha Wan, please check the leader's body again." Si Chen knew that this was Mr. Mu's voice. As for the other one, it was a somewhat ethereal voice. "We are all members of the divine religion, and this is what it should be. I hope that the flow of vitality in the leader's body can be slowed down." Pushing open the room, Si Chen saw the 3 people standing at the door. In addition to the 2 guardians, there is also a woman wearing an emerald green dress. Just as Si Chen was examining this woman, the other party was also examining Si Chen. Without saying a word, the woman named Sha Wan walked straight into the room. When Sha Wan saw the quilt spread on the floor, she was obviously stunned for a moment, and her eyes towards Si Chen also changed a bit. At this time, Mr. Mu also came to Si Chen and said to him, "This is Sha Wan, the 7th elder of the divine sect, who is proficient in medicine and poison. She came today to help the leader check his body." After hearing what Mr. Mu said, Si Chen nodded. He also wanted to know what kind of condition Luo Juru's body was now after being massaged by the Resurrection Buddha's hand and absorbing the Xuanian spiritual milk. Walking around Si Chen's quilt, Sha Wan came to Luo Juru's bedside. When she saw Luo Juru's rosy face, Sha Wan was stunned for a moment, and then a rich and incredible look appeared in her eyes. As if she didn't believe it, Sha Wan picked up Luo Juru's wrist again and put her finger on her pulse. Under the nervous gazes of Si Chen and the 2 guardians, Sha Wan's eyes grew wider and wider. At the same time, she kept mumbling, "Why is this? This is not in line with medical common sense. Is the end of medicine theology. Sha Wan, how is the leader?" Looking at Sha Wan's expression, Mr. Mu couldn't help but ask. At this time, Sha Wan also came to her senses. She first looked at the 2 guardians, and then focused her eyes on Si Chen. At the same time, she said in a deep voice, "This kid can do it. Let him stay by the leader's side at all times. Don't disturb him." Chapter 11. How do you say this? Faced with Sha Wan's statement, Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu were both stunned. Sha Wan's eyes never left Si Chen, as if she wanted to see through him completely. After a long time, Sha Wan shook her head in annoyance. It was obvious that she did not see anything wrong with Si Chen. Turning around, Sha Wan said to the 2 guardians, "You should also be able to see that the leader's complexion is much better than before, and even the flow of life in the body has begun to slow down. This was almost impossible to happen before." After listening to Sha Wan's words, the old faces of Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu were filled with expressions of ecstasy. Could it be that what the fortune teller said is true? "I don't know this." Sha Wan sighed feebly. "This is beyond my understanding of medicine. Do I want to start studying theology? However, no matter what the reason is, it is a fact that the leader's health has improved." At this time, Sha Wan looked at Si Chen doubtfully. "Can you tell me how you did it?" Facing Sha Wan's curious gaze, Si Chen just shook his head slightly. "7th elder, how can I, a handyman disciple, really master the method of treating the leader?" Si Chen knew that now was not the time for him to reveal his trump card. Luo Juru entered the soulless state for some unknown reason, and Si Chen was not sure whether it was man-made or not. If it is really man-made, then who is the enemy? Before figuring out these things, Si Chen must not trust anyone easily. "I understand, maybe my medical skills are not good." Sha Wan walked out of the room and said, "2 guardians, just let him stay with the leader at all times. I will come back to check on the leader after a while." Before leaving the room, Sha Wan said to Si Chen again, "Sir, I will leave the leader to you. Do my best." After Sha Wan left, only Si Chen and the 2 guardians were left in the room. At this time, Mr. Lu and Mr. Mu looked at each other, and Mr. Mu said to Si Chen, "Sir, I'm going to prepare breakfast for today." As Luo Juru's health improved, the 2 guardians' attitudes towards Si Chen became more and more friendly. The 2 of them have been by Luo Juru's side since she was a child. It can be said that they have watched Luo Juru grow up. They have always treated Luo Juru as their own daughter. When Luo Juru suddenly fell into a soulless state and tried various methods to wake her up, everyone was ready to give up. Only Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu. After all the hard work, they found the divine fortune teller and learned from him how to awaken Luo Juru. It can be said that before Si Chen appeared, they were the ones who were really kind to Luo Juru in the entire White Feather God sect. Now, seeing Si Chen conditioning Luo Juru's body so well, they naturally recognized Si Chen from the bottom of their hearts. After explaining to Si Chen, the two guardians walked out of the room and no longer stayed in the shadows of the room. After everyone left the room, Si Chen slowly came to Luo Juru's bed, stretched out his hand and poked Luo Juru's face. "Madam, did you hear that even your elders told me to stay by your side at all times?" Si Chen sat on the edge of the bed, letting Luo Juru lean into his arms, and carefully smoothed her messy hair. In fact, just when Sha Wan came to the room, Luo Juru had already woken up. She slept very late last night, and all she could think of was Si Chen's voice convincing her to give up Xuanian spiritual milk, and his gentle voice comforting her after giving up Xuanian spiritual milk. For no reason, she had insomnia again. Obviously, when Si Chen didn't come before, she spent most of her time sleeping. Because that would delay the loss of life force in her body as much as possible. But since Si Chen came, Luo Juru hasn't had a good night's sleep. "You thief, you disturbed my Taoist heart. If I am unable to advance to the realm of Hunyuan Saint in the future, I will blame you." HMPH, what did Sha Wan say? Luo Juru naturally heard Sha Wan's words, and she knew better than Sha Wan why her body was so much better than before. Isn't it just because of Si Chen's Xuanian spirit milk and his a massage technique that made her extremely embarrassed and angry? "Madam, today's porridge is here." At this time, Si Chen's gentle voice also sounded in Luo Juru's ears. "After you finish the porridge, I'll give you a massage. I don't know if you would like me to give you a massage, madam." Si Chen gently blew on the spiritual porridge in the spoon and said to himself, "How about the massage time be shorter today? Tell me if I am willing." Leaning in Si Chen's arms, Luo Juru could clearly feel Si Chen's heartbeat. The powerful heartbeat passed through the body and reached Luo Juru's mind. Gradually, Luo Juru felt that her heartbeat was almost synchronized with Si Chen's. Luo Juru thought bitterly, "I don't want you to give me a massage. You are a thief who disturbs my Taoist heart. How about the massage time be shorter today?" Could it be that this thief can hear what I said? Many times, Luo Juru would have this illusion. But then, Luo Juru's heart tightened, and Si Chen's words continued to echo in her heart. "What do you mean by pressing for a shorter time today? I just said it casually. If you want to press, can I stop you or something? You also know my state, I can't stop you. Are you tired of it?" For so many years, Luo Juru's state of mind has always been as calm as the water in a deep pool. But now, Luo Juru's heart is always agitated by Si Chen's words and actions. At this time, Si Chen's smiling words came again. "If you could move, would you want to hit me? I not only want to hit you, I also want to give you a knife." Luo Juru thought directly. After pinching Luo Juru's straight nose, Si Chen said, "Don't worry, your body is not yet at the point where it can recover on its own, so you still need to continue the massage. HMPH, you know what's going on. But I advise you not to touch my feet today." Si Chen, "Okay, let's start with the feet today. Single quote question mark. You are deliberately going against me, aren't you?" Just like before, Si Chen came to the end of the bed and held up Luo Juru's crystal-like jade feet. Because her legs were raised, Luo Juru's white dress also fell to her knees, revealing a smooth and slender calf. With a golden green light glowing in his hands, Si Chen began to stimulate the acupuncture points on Luo Juru's soles according to the established technique, helping her absorb the life breath around her body. "Madam, can you hear my voice? A person would be very lonely in that dark environment, right?" Feeling the tingling sensation coming from the soles of her feet, Luo Juru felt that her whole nerves had become very tense. When a person loses his vision, the perception of his other organs will be enhanced countless times. And this is exactly Luo Juru's current state. In the state of soullessness, she could not see anything, and there was only boundless darkness around her. At this time, any movement around her will be magnified many times, and the feeling on her body will be extremely obvious. Therefore, Luo Juru's mind is now filled with Sichen's voice and the movement of his big hands on the soles of her feet. It's so itchy. Perhaps his sudden appearance is not such a bad thing. Bah, what are you thinking? He is a thief who desecrated your body. You have been thinking about how to torture him for 2 whole days and 2 nights after you woke up. Is it all in vain? At this time, Luo Juru began to have random thoughts again. This is also what she has done the most during this period, thinking wildly. Want to hear a story? How about I tell you a story? Story. Luo Juru's thoughts were once again interrupted by Sichen's words, and at the same time, her interest was aroused by Sichen's words. However, Luo Juru then thought again. I am a powerful person who has overcome tribulations. I have eaten more salt than you have eaten rice. What stories do you have that I haven't heard before? Today we will tell a story about 30 years in Hedong and 30 years in Hexi. Xiao Huahuo, today I, Nilanyan, will break off my engagement with you. You are no longer worthy of me. Break off the engagement. But Xiao Huahuo's qualifications are still there. He just temporarily suffered a regression in strength because of the spiritual power extracted from the ring. Single quote. Although Luo Juru had always said that as a strong person in the tribulation realm, she had extremely rich life experience. But when Sichen really started to tell her about those fantasy novels from his past life, Luo Juru's thoughts were instantly attracted. The biggest feature of this kind of fantasy white text is that it can arouse readers' emotional fluctuations, and it is easy for readers to get involved. This kind of thing is naturally infinitely attractive to Luo Juru, who has never been exposed to fantasy novels. In addition, Luo Juru had been in that lonely and dark environment for a long time, and there was not even a trace of sound around him, let alone entertainment activities. As well as Sichen's various language renderings that add fuel to the fire. For all these reasons, Luo Juru was extremely interested in the stories Sichen told. Later, Xiao Huahuo cut off his own clothes with a sword and wrote a letter of divorce on it with blood. Nilanyan, 30 years in Hedong and 30 years in Hexi, don't bully young people into poverty. 3 years later, I, Xiao Huahuo. What's wrong with Xiao Huahuo? Tell me quickly. Okay, that's it for today's story. Madam, we've been pressing the button for 2 hours. Single quote ? Single quote. I'm starting to feel uncomfortable all over. If I don't give you a knife, it will feel like there are ants crawling on my body. After living for so long, Luo Juru felt the pain of being disgusted by a broken dog for the first time. The broken dog deserves to die. Sichen naturally didn't know Luo Juru's inner thoughts. He simply felt that it was getting late and it was time to practice. Standing up from the end of the bed, Sichen put Luo Juru's slightly red feet back into the silk socks, and pulled down her long skirt to cover her calves. After doing all this, Sichen leaned down and kissed Luo Juru gently on the forehead. I'm going to practice, madam. You are the leader of the demon cult after all. If I stay so weak, it won't be good for others to hear me. And after my realm improves, I can better help you get out of this state. As long as I'm here, what are you afraid of? After hearing Sichen's words, Luo Juru wanted to tell him loudly, I will protect you. As long as I am here, no one can hurt you. Just relax and tell me a story. However, she couldn't tell. This feeling of powerlessness made her very uncomfortable, but she could also hear from Sichen's words that he was really trying his best to catch up with her. Are you afraid that I will leave you when I wake up? Humph, you are thinking too much. My Taoist heart does not allow me to do this. Sichen sat cross-legged beside Luo Juru's bed and began to practice the exercises that Mr. Mu had given him. The price of Naling Shui is 30,000 points, which is 15,000 points at a 50% discount. With the speed at which Sichen is gaining points now, if you don't kiss, you can buy it the day after tomorrow. If you kiss, you can buy it at midnight tonight. After opening all the 2 attribute gift packs in the system backpack, one of which was luxurious, Sichen once again gained 7 attribute points. Still added to the qualification column, Sichen's qualifications reached 57. After doing this, Si Chen closed his eyes and concentrated, and began to use his skills to absorb the spiritual energy around him. And the moment Si Chen closed his eyes, the spiritual energy in the whole room seemed to have found an outlet, and rushed towards Si Chen's position crazily. Even the spiritual energy in the white jade bed where Luo Juru was sitting had turned into substance at this moment and quickly penetrated into Si Chen's body. Buzz. Concentrating all his mind on his meridians, Si Chen looked with some surprise at the speed of the spiritual energy in his meridians. Isn't this a bit too fast? Si Chen could clearly feel that his cultivation had once again begun to grow wildly. The first level of the Divine Treasure Realm, the second level of the Divine Treasure Realm, the third level of the Divine Treasure Realm, and the fourth level of the Divine Treasure Realm. In just one day, Si Chen directly crossed 3 small realms. When the moonlight began to shine into the room outside the window, Si Chen slowly opened his eyes. Whoosh! Quickly bouncing up from the ground, Si Chen took the porridge prepared by the 2 guardians, gently picked up Luo Juru, and fed her porridge as usual. Madam, are you listening? Let's continue telling the story. You still know that I am a person. I have been waiting for you all day. If Luo Juru is awake now and can move freely, that Si Chen would definitely see a beautiful woman in a white dress standing in front of him with a frown, tapping his forehead with her fingers and saying to him, "All the flowers you made me wait for have withered. To make up for your mistake, tell me 100 stories quickly." Luo Juru didn't even notice that she no longer challenged Si Chen by calling her wife. After Nilanyan broke off the engagement, the old man in Xiao Huahuo's ring also completely woke up and began to teach Xiao Huahuo how to practice. And they also entered the Warcraft Mountains to seek strength, just to attack the Yunlin sect 3 years later and seek revenge on Nalan Yan for today. Come, let's have a massage and listen to stories. As if coaxing his daughter, Si Chen's voice was soft and his movements were light. Luo Juru just listened to Si Chen's story quietly and enjoyed the massage from Si Chen's big hands. Unknowingly, Luo Juru really had a ridiculous idea. He is really gentle. If he can stay like this forever, it seems to be very good. Bah, 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 it's not okay, it's not okay. In the Warcraft Mountains, Xiao Huahuo met Yun Yun who was poisoned by the acacia ape. The poison of the acacia ape can only be cured by the intercourse between a man and a woman. Ahem, what follows is not something that children can listen to. But we are already married, so we are no longer children. Hearing Si Chen's words, Luo Juru snorted in her heart. Humph, you know what's going on. Then continue quickly. Xiao Huahuo slowly took off Yun Yun's clothes. Second elder, the leader needs to rest in his current state. If you have nothing important to do, please don't disturb him. Haha, as a member of the divine religion, it is appropriate to come and visit the leader. Moreover, I also want to see what kind of talent a person who can marry the leader has. Just when Si Chen's story reached the most important point and Luo Juru raised her shy heart to its highest point, a very noisy conversation suddenly came from outside the door. Is he just a simple coward? He doesn't even have the courage to come out and meet people. Seeing that the 2 guardians had no intention of letting him into the room, the second elder Dang Huo outside the room also had other thoughts in his mind. He stopped arguing with the 2 guardians and started to blame Si Chen in the room. Second elder, this is Rakshasa Peak, where the leader rests. Please don't cross it again. Passover, as the second elder of the divine sect, I just want to visit the leader. Mr. Mu, Mr. Lu, let him come in. Just when Dang Huo was about to say something, Si Chen's voice came from the room, directly interrupting him. Outside the room, Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu who were guarding the door looked at each other, and then looked at Dang Huo in front of them at the same time. Since the young master has agreed, then the second elder can invite you in. Quote. When the voices of the 2 guardians fell, they saw Dang Huo's gloomy face. From Dang Huo's point of view, he had been standing at the door for so long and arguing for so long that he could not even enter the room and take a look at Luo Juru. But Si Chen's simple words in the room made Luo Juru's 2 closest guardians let him go. This is like a stranger coming to someone else's home, and the male owner of the other person's home is very reasonable and allows him to enter the home. His friend Huo is just a stranger to Luo Juru, but Si Chen in the room is the male host. Thinking of this, Dang Huo's face turned terrifyingly gloomy. Second elder, please come in. Just when Dang Huo was stunned, Mr. Mu also opened the door to the room. Looking at the open door in front of him, Dang Huo finally stepped into the room, with Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu also following behind him. But just when Dang Huo walked into the room and saw the scene in the room, his body shook violently, and the killing intent in his eyes could hardly be hidden. In front of the three of them, Si Chen was sitting on the edge of the bed, his big hands filled with golden-green brilliance gently massaging Luo Juru's arms. Luo Juru leaned in Si Chen's arms, her face flushed and no longer as pale as before. This is unacceptable to Dang Huo. Why, how come a kid like him who appeared out of nowhere can be so close to the leader? Although Dang Huo has never been in contact with Luo Juru, and has not even seen Luo Juru's true face a few times, he always feels in his heart that only he is worthy of Luo Juru. Although he had been rejected several times before when he tried to talk to Luo Juru, he still had a glimmer of hope. Dang Huo always felt in his heart, why did Luo Juru not reject others, only him? This shows that Luo Juru has a crush on him. From Dang Huo's point of view, although Luo Juru was married, he always believed that Si Chen was only there to help Luo Juru get married, and Si Chen was not allowed to have any contact with Luo Juru at all. But everything that happened now made Dang Huo doubt his life. At the same time, his hostility towards Si Chen was instantly amplified to the extreme. Isn't he just more handsome and has a better temperament? Apart from this, he can compare with me in other aspects. And just as Dang Huo was looking at the intertwining scene between heaven and man, Si Chen slowly stopped what he was doing and looked at Dang Huo in the room. Si Chen's first impression when he saw Dang Huo was that he was sinister. Although Dang Huo is the second elder of the White Feather sect and has broken through the cave ruins realm, his body is very thin and his face is very pale. At the same time, his eyes are extremely dark, and he always likes to lower his head and look upward when looking at people. At this time, Mr. Mu behind Dang Huo also introduced, "Sir, this is the second elder of the divine sect, Dang Huo. Second elder, this is the leader's husband, Si Chen. It turns out to be the second elder. Please forgive me for missing the welcome from afar." Just when Mr. Mu finished his words, Si Chen said to Dang Huo familiarly. However, Si Chen did not stand up, nor let go of Luo Juru in his arms. Facing Si Chen's flat tone, Dang Huo felt his temples twitching. He suddenly felt that he was so unnecessary standing in the room. Forcibly stabilizing his thoughts, Dang Huo's eyes suddenly flashed with a hint of conspiracy. The leader's complexion has improved a lot. It seems that you have taken good care of him. You have made a great contribution to this matter. I will ask the medicine hall and the Kung Fu Pavilion to send you some low-level elixir techniques. Quote, when the leader wakes up, I can intercede for you so that she doesn't kill you. After Dang Huo finished speaking, he stared at Si Chen with his gloomy eyes, as if he wanted to see how he would answer his words. Si Chen glanced at Dang Huo, and he naturally heard the strangeness in Dang Huo's words. Dang Huo is just mentally unbalanced and wants to beat him up. But Si Chen won't tolerate Dang Huo's bad habits. Looking at Dang Huo calmly, Si Chen smiled slightly, I won't bother the second elder with this. My wife and I live a very good and quiet life. It's better for outsiders to disturb us less. If someone comes to my door all day long and disturbs my wife's recovery, then it's his fault. The meaning in Si Chen's words is also very clear. You, an outsider, should stop dictating our two-person world, and leave in a smooth manner. You. Naturally, Dang Huo also heard the meaning of Si Chen's words, which made Dang Huo frown fiercely, and the killing intent in his eyes almost swallowed up Si Chen. Second elder, if you have nothing to do, please leave. Don't disturb the leader and the young master's rest. At this moment, Mr. Lu behind Dang Huo also directly issued an eviction order. Some things should be said by them as subordinates. Your Excellency is really eloquent. I just don't know if the skills in your hands are as good as the skills in your mouth. Knowing that he would be asking for trouble if he continued to stay, Dang Huo immediately flicked his sleeves, turned and walked out of the room, with Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu following behind him. A long time after Dang Huo walked out of the room, words that seemed to be talking to himself, but more like intentional words were also spread into the room. I thought the leader would marry such a proud man. In the end, he would just be a fourth-level man in the divine Tibetan realm. At the door of the room, Looking at Dang Huo's figure leaving in embarrassment, Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu stood looking at each other. If Dang Huo had known that he had built a foundation in just a few breaths and had gone from having no cultivation to the 4th level of the divine treasure realm in just a few days, I wonder if he would have said such a thing. Don't pay attention to him. Just drive him away next time he comes. Master, you don't have to take what Dang Huo said to heart. In the room, as if to prevent Si Chen from thinking too much, Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu came to the room after Dang Huo left. Mr. Mu, Mr. Lu, just don't worry, I don't take it seriously at all. Si Chen helped Luo Juru straighten her messy hair and smiled softly at her pretty face. Since Ru and I are already married, I will naturally have to overcome many difficulties for her. After hearing Si Chen's words, Mr. Lu and Mr. Mu's eyes were full of relief and recognition. They had to admit that from the time Si Chen and Luo Juru got married to now, everything that Si Chen had done had surprised them. Whether it's his calm attitude in facing anything, or his meticulous care for Luo Juru. At the same time, they increasingly recognize the divine fortune teller's divination results. It seems that he can really awaken the leader. The two guardians looked at each other, said hello to Si Chen, and then walked out of the room. At this point, the room became quiet again, with only Si Chen and Luo Juru left. Raising his hand and pinching Luo Juru's nose, Si Chen said helplessly, "Madam, it seems that you are very charming. We have only been married for a few days, and my love rival came to visit. But what he said is true. I am still a little too weak now. I must become stronger as soon as possible." Luo Juru leaned in Si Chen's arms, with only one thought in her mind at this time. Dang Huo should have been killed directly from the beginning. Although Dang Huo took the initiative to talk to her several times in the past, Luo Juru regarded it as normal communication between the elder and the leader. But now, Dang Huo actually dares to come to Si Chen's house to cause trouble for him. This made Luo Juru's murderous intention towards Dang Huo reach its peak. In fact, Luo Juru's heart was very complicated. She felt that Si Chen actually dared to touch her. The first thing she had to do after waking up was to give Si Chen a knife. At least that was how she hypnotized herself. However, after hearing what Dang Huo said to Si Chen, Luo Juru felt irritable for no reason. She is not happy. She doesn't like others saying bad things about Si Chen. What's wrong with the low cultivation level? This leader likes people with low cultivation levels. No, it should be said that this leader likes people with low cultivation levels called Si Chen. If you dare to come here to harass Lai Lai again, I will directly clean up your family tree. And this idiot Si Chen. Luo Juru thought angrily. I told you that I will protect you and only I can kill you. What are you afraid of? I will still dislike you for your low cultivation level or something. Only I can do something to you, you idiot, and no one else can. Do you understand or not? When Luo Juru heard what Si Chen and the two guardians said after Dang Huo left, she felt her heart tremble. Since Ru and I are already married, I will naturally have to overcome many difficulties for her. Luo Juru could clearly hear Si Chen's heartbeat because she was leaning in Si Chen's arms, and their heartbeats were even synchronized. She knew that what Si Chen said was true. Although Luo Juru can't move her body now, only her thoughts are active. But Luo Juru still felt her face getting hot when she heard what Si Chen said. What an idiot, who is married to you. I don't need you to overcome difficulties for me, you can just stand behind me and hug my thigh. Madam, let's continue telling the story. Just when Luo Juru was thinking wildly, the gentle words that came to her ears made her feel extremely at ease. This time, Si Chen directly hugged Luo Juru in his arms like a princess. Luo Juru was very light, her figure was very delicate, and her skin was as smooth as ice and snow. Wearing a white gauze skirt, Si Chen could even feel Luo Juru's body temperature. Using the Resurrection Buddha's hand technique again, Si Chen's big hands kneaded Luo Juru's arms. Luo Juru, who noticed Si Chen's actions, felt that her whole body was hot. She couldn't tell whether it was her own body that was heating or Si Chen's body temperature was transferred to her. She could clearly feel that she was being held in Si Chen's arms in a very shameful position at this moment. No, this posture is too shameful. Let me go quickly. I'm going to kill you, you deceiver. But, Mr. Mew said that when girls from other families get married, it goes even further than this. How about, just let him hold me? Anyway, I can't resist now. It's just helpless to be held by him like this. If I were awake, I wouldn't be able to let him do whatever he wants. After this self-hypnosis, Luo Juru felt completely at ease at this moment. She just lay in Si Chen's arms, enjoying the massage of Si Chen's big hands on her arms. Suddenly, Luo Juru heard Si Chen sigh. Why did he sigh? Perhaps even Luo Juru herself didn't notice that her emotions had begun to be affected by Si Chen's every move. Madam, maybe you don't want me to call you madam. That's right, you don't even know what I look like. I don't know anything about your past, I don't even know your relationship with Dang Huo. If you were awake, would you let me go directly? Or kill me directly? Si Chen hugged Luo Juru, and the murmurs from his mouth gradually reached Luo Juru's ears. No, it's not. Luo Juru herself didn't know why she was so eager to explain when faced with Si Chen's nonsense. Maybe it's because she's afraid that Si Chen will think too much. Or maybe she's starting to care about what Si Chen thinks. No matter what the reason was, Luo Juru realized that there might really be an inexplicable feeling in her heart. Is it because he showed up in time when he was at his darkest and most in need of comfort? Or maybe it was the way he gave her his most precious Xuanian spiritual milk and comforted her that touched her heart? Or is it that he works tirelessly every day to talk to a vegetative person who doesn't know whether he can sense the outside world? Luo Juru didn't know, but she didn't seem to reject this feeling in her heart. Luo Juru wanted to tell Si Chen loudly what she thought, because hearing Si Chen's slightly disappointed voice made Luo Juru feel uncomfortable. I have nothing to do with Dang Huo, he has never even seen my face. Don't think so. Do you think anyone can do this to me like you do? You idiot, you are so angry with me. You, don't put me back on the bed, it doesn't matter if you hold me. Isn't it okay if I don't kill you? I allow you to call me Niangzi. Is he unhappy? Why did he put me down? At this time, in Luo Juru's perception, Si Chen took her out of his arms and put her back on the bed. There was no movement after that. Just this small action made Luo Juru think a lot. At the same time, Luo Juru couldn't help but regret his previous tolerance towards Dang Huo. In her opinion, if she had killed Dang Huo directly, he would not have appeared just now, and he would not have made Si Chen unhappy. If Si Chen wasn't unhappy, he would still be holding her and telling her stories now. At this moment, there was no sound around Luo Juru, and she once again returned to the dead and dark abyss. This gave Luo Juru an unprecedented sense of panic. If she had never seen the light, maybe she would not be so afraid of the darkness of the abyss. But when Luo Juru got used to the warmth of dawn and returned to the coldness of the abyss, she even felt a suffocation that made her more desperate than before. You're still here, right? I want to hear a story, can you continue telling it? You call me wife, I won't mind. I really wouldn't mind. Suddenly, just when Luo Juru's tone changed from questioning to a disappointed murmur, she found that Si Chen's steady breathing came from beside her again. She noticed that Si Chen raised his hand and lightly scratched her nose. Why are you starting to think so wildly? No matter what, we are already married. Can he really hear me? Hearing Si Chen's gentle voice again, Luo Juru couldn't help but feel a little dazed. She couldn't tell whether Si Chen was comforting her or himself. But then, Luo Juru felt that shy feeling reappearing in her heart again. Who is getting married to you? How can it be called a marriage if you don't lift the hijab and enter the bridal chamber? Ah, it's so itchy. You can't massage your feet if you hold it like I just did, so you need to put it back on the bed first. Si Chen put Luo Juru back on the bed and lay down, and then came to the end of the bed. In fact, Luo Juru's little Juju was just too worried about herself, and Si Chen didn't think about it that much at all. As for Dang Huo, Si Chen didn't even take it to heart. Those words just now were just spoken out of emotion. After all, he really didn't know if Luo Juru could sense everything in the outside world. However, no matter whether Luo Juru could sense the outside world or not, even if there was only a little hope, Si Chen could not give up. Whether it's because she is his wife now, or because his life is now bound to Luo Juru. Feeling the tingling sensation coming from her feet, Luo Juru no longer had the same friction as before this time, but felt a little happy. I thought you were unhappy and left. But how can a woman's feet be seen so easily? Tell me a story, otherwise I won't forgive you. Because of Xiao Huahuo and Yun Yun's ambiguous experience in the cave, the relationship between the two quickly heated up. It was already very late for Si Chen to practice, but if Dang Huo interfered like this, the night was already deep and the moon outside the window had risen to its highest point. In the room, Si Chen sat at the end of the bed, holding Luo Juru's delicate feet in his hands, pressing them carefully while telling a story. Luo Juru was lying on the white jade bed, going through a fierce brainstorm in her little head. I am the leader of the White Feather sect, the largest demon sect in the Kenglin realm. The number of enemies who have died in my hands is not even 100,000 but 80,000. My heart is as cold as stone, nothing makes any waves in my heart. However, since the man next to me appeared, I feel more and more that my character has changed. I have begun to become weak. No, this feeling is only temporary and only takes effect when I am unconscious. When I wake up, I will annihilate all emotions again. Master said, there is no man in my heart, draw the sword to the god of nature. Well, yes, that's it. Si Chen, madam, after lying down for so long, do your feet stink? Single quote. Single quote. Just when Luo Juru was enjoying Si Chen's massage and trying her best to hypnotize herself, Si Chen's sudden words made her lose her power. Ah, your feet stink. I'll give you a knife. How can the feet of a monk in the tribulation realm stink? You hold it in your hand like a treasure all day long, don't you know if it smells bad or not? It doesn't seem to stink. Si Chen chuckled, put Luo Juru's little feet back into the new silk socks, looked at Luo Juru's increasingly rosy face, and couldn't help but nodded with satisfaction. It seems that the effects of Resurrection Buddha's hand and Xuanian spiritual milk during this period are still very powerful. Hearing Si Chen's words, Luo Juru couldn't help but snorted angrily. Bad guy, he acts mean all day long. In fact, Si Chen was just joking. After the monks reach the realm of the divine treasure, they can completely abandon the filthy things of the world and avoid being allowed to get close to them. Not to mention the supreme power of Luo Juru, who is in the tribulation realm. The body of such a strong person can already be as warm and crystal clear as the innate spiritual jade. Not to mention the smelly feet. After a long stretch, Si Chen turned his head and looked at the moon outside the room. At this time, midnight has arrived. It's time to sign in for a new day. After Si Chen covered Luo Juru with a quilt, he came to her bedside. Si Chen will never forget that Naling Shiju requires 15,000 points to purchase. He only has 8,000 points now, and he only gets 5,000 points when he signs in with his hand in hand. If he wants to buy Naling Shiju today, Si Chen needs to act more intimately. Although he had had several kissing experiences before, Si Chen couldn't help but feel guilty when facing Luo Juru's cold and delicate face. Madam. Can you? No, don't think I don't know what you want to do. You have to do whatever you want before going to bed every time. Luo Juru was naturally aware of Si Chen's actions. She also knew that she had to kiss Si Chen before going to bed every night. Especially the night when Si Chen gave her the Xuanian spirit milk, he even stuck it in her mouth. So, just by sitting there today, Luo Juru knew what was going to happen next. However, Luo Juru herself didn't know why, but she didn't feel the same conflict as before. Could it be that I'm used to it? Or is it that I can't help it even if I want to refuse? Hey, I'm warning you, you'd better not act recklessly. Do you have to do something random? Then I advise you not to do what you did that night. Ding, congratulations to the host for signing in on the mouth of Luo Juru, the leader of the White Feather God sect in the late stage of the tribulation realm. You will receive a reward. 8,000 points, a tribute gift pack luxury *1. The still fierce sound sounded, and Si Chen's eyebrows could not help but beat twice. However, Si Chen also discovered that this time he was only rewarded with 8,000 points and an attribute gift pack, without the additional reward of Xuanian spiritual milk. Is it possible that better rewards will be given every time a new sign in gesture is unlocked? Then what if, cough cough cough. Patting his head with his hand, Si Chen threw away all the messy thoughts in his mind and quickly stopped the next fantasy. At this time, Si Chen also realized that he had just been busy signing in and listening to the system prompts. Until now, he is still sleeping on Luo Juru's pillow, facing her face to face, and his lips are tightly pressed together. Listening to the even and delicate breathing coming from his ears, a smile slowly appeared in Si Chen's eyes. "Madam, you are really my lucky star. Dang Tuzi, how long have we been kissing each other, and you still keep kissing me?" Just when Si Chen came to Luo Juru had already experienced a fierce struggle in his head. Luo Juru finally decided, "I can't refuse anyway, so just let him do it. Just think of it as his reward for giving me the Xuanian spiritual milk. When I wake up, I will never let him mess around, coming." However, Luo Juru soon discovered that Si Chen had not let go of her after kissing her for so long. "What's so nice about this? It's not good for cultivation. I really don't understand you." However, when Luo Juru heard what Si Chen said after letting go of her, "My wife is my lucky star," a strange emotion appeared in her heart. It seems like a touch of joy. Or maybe it's satisfaction. Smooth-tongued, "You can say something nice." Although Luo Juru's mood has begun to ripple because of Si Chen, she still has to maintain her majesty as the leader of the demon cult. "I'm done kissing, go practice now. I'm going to sleep." On Si Chen's side, after looking at Luo Juru's delicate and pretty face for a while, he gently covered Luo Juru with the quilt, and at the same time bent down and kissed her gently on the forehead. "Good night, madam. Good night, you scumbag." Si Chen rolled over from Luo Juru's white jade bed and pulled the quilt he had spread on the ground towards Luo Juru. After doing all this, Si Chen sat cross-legged on the floor and looked at today's system interface with excitement. Today's discounted items: Heaven level low grade, Naling Shui, priced at 30,000 points, 50% off. Locked. Zong level top grade spirit absorbing pill, priced at 1,000 points, 10% off. Snow gold Yuanyang belly pocket, priced at 1,000 points, 20% off. When Si Chen saw today's discounted products, he quickly raised his hand and rubbed his eyes. When Si Chen was sure that he had read correctly, a big question mark slowly appeared on his forehead. "You can even sell bellybands. And what bellyband is worth 1,000 points?" Just in the upper column of the bellyband, the spirit-absorbing elixir only costs 1,000 points. The price of this bellyband is actually the same as the Zong level high-grade elixir. Si Chen's words did not receive a reply from the system. The system's meaning was obvious. Just say whether you want to buy it or not. Purchase. Si Chen turned his head and looked at the figure lying on the white jade bed, and thought viciously. "I didn't buy it for any special purpose. I was just curious about why your bellyband is so expensive. Signing in today gave me 8,000 points. Adding in the previous 8,780 points, Si Chen now has 16,780 points. After buying Na Ling Shiju, Si Chen still had more than 1,600 points left. He can only choose between bellyband and spiritual absorption pill. With almost no hesitation, Si Chen made a completely instinctive decision. Snow Gold Mandarin Duck Bellyband, buy it. If you miss the soul absorbing pill, you can wait, but if you don't buy Dudo with 1,000 points, Si Chen will regret it for the rest of his life. As the more than 10,000 points on the system interface instantly turned into 3 digits, an ancient scroll and a red bellyband appeared in Si Chen's hand. Putting the Naling Shi Ju aside, Si Chen took the red bellyband and glanced at it with the corner of his eye. The bellyband made of an unknown material is cold in the hand, and there is a pair of mandarin ducks outlined by golden silk threads on it. What's even more amazing is that when Si Chen gently shook his bellyband, the 2 mandarin ducks on it actually started to swim in the water. This, after understanding it almost, Si Chen put it directly into his chest pocket. In Si Chen's opinion, the image of a grown man holding a bellyband looking around was too vulgar. Don't look at it too much, you'll explode if you look at it again. At the same time, Si Chen couldn't help but look at Luo Juru beside him again. If the lady puts it on. What to wear? Luo Juru, who was lying on the bed, couldn't see the things around her, but she heard Si Chen's murmur. At this time, she couldn't help but be curious about what Si Chen was doing and what he wanted her to wear. However, Luo Juru noticed that Si Chen did not continue speaking, but instead sat cross-legged on the ground and entered a state of cultivation. This made Luo Juru even more curious about what Si Chen was planning. System, practice, Naling Shi Ju. After Si Chen opened the attribute gift pack for today's sign in reward and added the attribute points to the talent column, he gave the system the instruction to practice the Naling Shi Ju. When his thoughts fell, a majestic torrent of consciousness instantly poured into his sea of consciousness. Naling Shi Ju is generally a technique for absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth for one's own use. It can greatly speed up the monk's absorption of spiritual energy and improve the practitioner's ability to use spiritual energy. Si Chen sat cross-legged on the ground and began to incorporate the spiritual energy around his body into his meridians according to the Naling Shui, and let these spiritual energy circulate according to specific routes. Buzz. Just like before, the spiritual energy in the whole room surged towards Si Chen again. Si Chen's level also began to rise rapidly again. Heaven-level skills are considered to be extremely top-notch skills even among the White Feather sect. Generally, only elders and direct disciples have the opportunity to come into contact with them. However, Si Chen began to practice using heaven-level techniques when he was in the Divine Treasure realm, which also made his realm improve several times faster than before. Why is this guy so perverted? Lying on the bed, Luo Juru felt the movement coming from beside her, and couldn't help being severely shocked. She had to admit that Si Chen was much more powerful than when she was in the Divine Treasure realm. Sometimes Luo Juru often wonders, is her husband, whom she has never met, really a genius? But isn't he a handyman disciple responsible for sweeping the floor? Could this be the legendary sweeping monk? The night passed by in such a hurry. When the first ray of sunlight in the morning shone into the room, Si Chen, who was always in a state of cultivation, also opened his eyes. He took a long breath, stood up and stretched. Coming to Luo Juru's bedside, Si Chen looked at Luo Juru's peaceful sleeping face, raised his hand and poked Luo Juru's face. "Good morning, madam." After noticing the movement on her face, Luo Juru, who was in a sleeping state, slowly woke up. The first time she woke up, Luo Juru heard Si Chen's gentle voice. Luo Juru has gradually become accustomed to the feeling of having him next to her after waking up, which makes her feel at ease. It was Si Chen who pulled her out of the lonely and cold abyss and gave her a life experience she had never experienced before. "Good morning, dang disciple." What's going on? Why are you at the 9th level of the Divine Treasure realm? With Si Chen in front of her, Luo Juru could clearly sense the difference between Si Chen's state and last night. Si Chen was obviously at the 4th level of the Divine Treasure realm before she went to bed last night, but now he suddenly became the 9th level. "I broke through 5 small realms in one night. It seems that I still don't understand the extent of your perversion deeply enough." Si Chen naturally didn't know what Luo Juru was thinking. He was thinking about another thing now. "Madam, if a vegetative person lies on his back for a long time, it will cause the body's muscles to atrophy and the qi and blood to become increasingly weak. So, are we going to do some activities today?" In fact, Si Chen was a little unsure whether what he said applied to Luo Juru, because these opinions he had came from the medical theories of his previous life. After all, Luo Juru is a powerful person who can transcend the tribulation realm. But it never hurts to try. What are activities? Luo Juru was also a little confused about Si Chen's statement. But soon, Luo Juru discovered Si Chen's intention. Si Chen kicked off his shoes and flew to Luo Juru's side. Then Si Chen picked up Luo Juru, who was lying on the bed, and made her sit upright in front of him. Si Chen's hand was filled with spiritual energy. The resurrected Buddha's hand, filled with golden green light, picked up Luo Juru's arm and shook it for a while. You. With her back against Si Chen's arms, Luo Juru felt like a doll at the mercy of others, being manipulated into various positions in Si Chen's hands. What makes Luo Juru even more strange is that under Si Chen's seemingly unorganized technique, her body seems to be much more comfortable than before. Even the meridians that had long stopped functioning spiritually showed some signs of recovery. "What kind of treatment are you doing? Why is it so strange and embarrassing?" Although her body was getting better little by little, Luo Juru's heart was still filled with a strange emotion when she was in Si Chen's arms and controlled by him like this. No, no, even if I reluctantly accept you, I should still take the dominant position. I am the leader of the demon cult. Ah, it's so shameful, so shameful. Someone come and save this leader. Si Chen naturally didn't know what Luo Juru was thinking. The only thing he knew was that his idea seemed to be right. With Luo Juru's skin next to her, Si Chen could clearly feel the changes in her body. In the past, Luo Juru, who had entered a soulless state, seemed to have completely lost the ability to function in his meridians. But now, with the help of Si Chen's external force, the meridians that had been dormant for a long time showed some signs of recovery. Realizing this, Si Chen couldn't help but happily murmured to Luo Juru. Madam, can you feel it? Your body is really getting better little by little. Feelings are felt, but this passive feeling makes me very unhappy. As the leader of the White Feather sect, Luo Juru is a powerful person in the late stage of the Tribulation realm and an absolute powerhouse among tens of millions of people. She has long been accustomed to taking the absolute initiative in everything. But now in her relationship with Si Chen, it can be said that she does not occupy the slightest dominant position. This feeling was something Luo Juru had never experienced before, but she didn't seem to reject it. Instead, she felt a brand new experience that she had never had before. I just feel a little unhappy. Hey, move your arms for a quarter of an hour, and move your legs for an hour, right? You really have some strange habits. Sooner or later I will trample you under my feet and humiliate you severely. Someone come quickly, someone come and stop this scoundrel. But instead of asking him to stop, let him press his arm more. While Luo Juru was constantly tinkering with Xiao Juju, the voices of Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu came from outside the room. Sir, breakfast is ready. Do you want us to bring it in? Come on, teach this scoundrel a lesson. Hearing the voices of the two guardians, Luo Juru seemed to have grasped a life-saving straw and hurriedly looked forward to it. At the same time, the sound coming from outside the room made Si Chen pause, but then he continued what he was doing. Two guardians, come in. After hearing Si Chen's words, Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu also entered the room. They first looked at Si Chen's bedding on the ground, and then looked at Si Chen on the bed, and Luo Juru, who was held in Si Chen's arms in a very strange posture. At first, Mr. Lu was a little confused when he saw this scene, and even thought that Si Chen had some bad thoughts. But Mr. Mu beside her directly held her hand. Old Lu, pay attention to the leader's complexion. After hearing what Mr. Mu said, Mr. Lu's old and turbid eyes narrowed slightly and looked at his leader. When she saw Luo Juru's increasingly rosy face, and even the majestic pressure that was beginning to gradually recover, she was stunned. How long has it been? Does Si Chen really have any magical abilities? In the past, they had used all kinds of geniuses and treasures and tried all kinds of ideas, but none of them had any effect. But now that her leader and Si Chen Sai have only been married for a few days, she has already improved to this extent. And looking at the situation, it seems that even the meridians have begun to recover. Sir, how did you do it? They even forgot to put the food in their hands on the table. The two guardians just looked at Si Chen in surprise while holding the plates in their hands. Si Chen stopped what he was doing, smiled and said to the two guardians, I'm not sure how you did it. Maybe it's because of my massage. Massage. Repeating what Si Chen said, think back to Si Chen's previous massage techniques. Although the two guardians still find it a bit unbelievable, it is undeniable that their leader's change is completely different from before. Putting the food on the table, Mr. Mu said to Si Chen in a friendly tone, I would like to thank you, Master. Young Master, just feel free to do what you want. The two of us will give our full support to young Master. Single quote ? Single quote. Feeling the figures of her two closest guardians walking further and further away, Luo Juru felt that her whole body was not well. Lao Mu and Lu Lao, are you two teaming up with an outsider to bully this leader? You weren't like this before. Madam, did you hear that even Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu asked me to act with confidence? Humph, what they say doesn't count, what I say counts. Luo Juru thought angrily while drinking the spiritual porridge Si Chen fed her. You are not allowed to mess around after dinner, otherwise I will be angry. My feet are still sore. Hey, why is today's porridge sweet? Almost as soon as Luo Juru's thoughts came up, Si Chen's voice came to her ears. If you eat the same spiritual porridge every day, you must have gotten tired of it long ago. Si Chen gently blew on the spiritual porridge in the spoon and said softly, "This is the honey that the aunts in the village gave me when I first left the village. I couldn't bear to eat it myself, because it's just only a few pieces. But if it's for my wife to eat, I'm willing. You and I." Originally, Luo Juru was still curious as to why today's spiritual porridge was sweet and no longer as bland as before. When she heard Si Chen's gentle murmur, Luo Juru was stunned, and even didn't know how to express her thoughts at this time. At the same time, the scene when Si Chen held the Xuanian spiritual milk in his hand, even though it was clear that what he wanted was not enough, but he still tried his best to persuade himself to give up the Xuanian spiritual milk and give the Xuanian spiritual milk to her, was also reflected in Luo Juru's eyes again, came to mind. "Idiot, you don't use the good things yourself, but leave them all to me. You are such an idiot. There will never be another idiot like you in the entire Kanglan world. It's obviously just a trivial thing, it's just a few ordinary honeys." But Luo Juru felt that the tenderest part of her heart had been hit hard, and the deepest part of her heart had been quietly filled with someone's shadow. While tasting the faint sweetness in the spiritual porridge, Luo Juru couldn't tell whether it was the sweetness of honey or the sweetness in her heart. However, Luo Juru felt that as the dignified leader of the demon cult, being bribed by a few honeys was really worth the loss. So she thought angrily, "Bad guy, you know how to make people happy, and I won't be fooled by you." As if she felt a little guilty, Luo Juru repeated, "I'm not happy at all. Not at all." Soon, a bowl of porridge was fed to Luo Juru bit by Si Chen in this delicate atmosphere. After feeding the last spoonful to Luo Juru, Si Chen looked at the remaining porridge stains at the corners of Luo Juru's mouth, and a smile suddenly flashed in his eyes. Then, Si Chen slowly lowered his head and kissed Luo Juru's cherry lips. After a long time, Si Chen raised his head and stretched out his hand to straighten the messy hair in front of Luo Juru's forehead. At this time, the porridge stain on the corner of Luo Juru's mouth had completely disappeared. When Luo Juru felt Si Chen's actions, she snorted angrily. "Young disciple, I knew you had bad intentions. How could you feed someone a piece of porridge and then kiss him?" As if to comfort herself, Luo Juru started hypnosis again. "But, who said I can't stop him now? I'll just forgive him this last time. If he still messes around after I wake up, then I won't let him succeed easily." Holding Luo Juru tightly in his arms again, Si Chen asked, "Madam, do you want to hear a story?" "Of course yes." Dong dong dong. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door of the room, and at this time, Mr. Emu's voice came from outside the room. "Great Elder, allow me to make an announcement to the young master." "Sir, the Great Elder is here." Elder Emu's voice made Si Chen hesitate, and at the same time he couldn't help but wonder what kind of person this Great Elder would be. To be able to be the Great Elder of the largest demon sect in Kanglan realm, this person must have some strength. After letting Luo Juru lie down on the bed and covering her with a quilt, Si Chen got up and opened the door. The door opened, and Si Chen saw two guardians and an old man with white hair and beard standing at the door. The old man stood at the door like this, with a wrinkled face and a pair of eyes that gave people a very close feeling. "Sir, this is the Great Elder of the Divine Sect, Chu Baiquan." "Great Elder, this is the leader's husband, Si Chen." When Mr. Emu's voice fell, Chu Baiquan, who was always looking up and down at Si Chen, also smiled kindly. "I have long heard that the leader has found a good son-in-law, and now it seems that he is indeed well deserved." Compared with the previous second elder Dang Huo, Chu Baiquan's attitude in front of him can be said to be completely opposite. Not only did he not have any hostile feelings towards Si Chen, but he kept praising Si Chen. However, whether it was Si Chen's illusion or something else, Si Chen always felt that the old man in front of him was far from being as simple as he imagined. "The kind old man in front of me is the Great Elder of the #1 demon sect in Kanglan realm. With Chu Baiquan's identity, this kind of mentality, is he too deliberately friendly?" However, after all, these are just some conjectures made by Si Chen, and it is impossible for him to really say it. As the saying goes, don't hit someone with a smiling face. If someone treats us with such an attitude, we naturally can't let him down. Si Chen also nodded towards Chu Baiquan. The Great Elder is indeed more immortal than the rumors say. It's really fun to meet him this time. I wonder why the Great Elder came to Rakshasa Peak today. Hee, where is it? Chu Baiquan's eyes never left Si Chen's eyes. When he heard what Si Chen said, a look of surprise flashed through his eyes. According to his information, Si Chen was really just a handyman disciple and had never been in contact with any senior leaders of the divine religion. But now, when Si Chen faced him, the Great Elder, there was no fault in his expression, behavior, or answers that were neither humble nor overbearing. It's as if Si Chen was born to be a person who has experienced strong winds and waves. Chu Baiquan waved his hand modestly and said at the same time, I heard from other elders that with the help of the young master, the leader's condition has improved greatly. As the Great Elder of the divine sect, I am naturally worried about the leader's health, so I came here to take a look and make friends with the young master. When Si Chen heard Chu Baiquan's words, he raised his eyebrows slightly. Did you hear what other elders said? Did you listen to what the second elder said, or what the seventh elder said? Si Chen stepped aside and smiled slightly at Chu Baiquan. Great Elder, please come in. Without saying anything else, Chu Baiquan walked straight into the room, and the two guardians followed behind him. After entering the room, Chu Baiquan's eyes hardly paused and looked directly at Luo Juru on the bed. When he saw Luo Juru's rosy demeanor that had obviously returned to normal, as well as the faint fluctuations of spiritual power coming from her body. Suddenly, an undetectable black light flashed in Chu Baiquan's eyes. It seems that the rumors are indeed true. The leader has really recovered a lot after marrying the young master. After just a few glances, Chu Baiquan withdrew his gaze and turned to Si Chen with a smile. It seems that the young master is really different from ordinary people. Ha ha, Si Chen replied with the same smile. Whatever the Great Elder said, the leader's recovery is entirely up to her. I'm just providing some assistance. Young master is so humble. Without staying any longer, Chu Baiquan walked directly out of the room after understanding Luo Juru's current state. From beginning to end, there was nothing uncomfortable about his behavior. Arriving outside the room, Chu Baiquan's hand flashed with light, and a light blue pill appeared in his hand. Sir, this is a Zon-level high-grade mansion entering pill. I think you are about to break through the purple mansion realm. You can use this as a support when the time comes. Looking at the elixir in Chu Baiquan's hand, Si Chen took it directly without any hesitation. Then I'll thank the Great Elder here. Young master, what are you talking about? Chu Baiquan still had a calm and friendly attitude. He raised his head, looked directly into Si Chen's eyes, and said in an extremely eager and unbearable tone. Young master, if you are free, you can come to my peak for a visit. I will definitely fulfill my duty as a landlord by then. For some reason, Si Chen always felt that from beginning to end, Chu Baiquan's last words were his real purpose. That's natural. If I have time, I will definitely go. I have also admired the Great Elder for a long time. Ha ha ha, then it's settled. I will wait for the young master's arrival on Yinghui Peak. After Chu Baiquan said these words, he turned around and swept away into the distance, and soon disappeared from Si Chen's sight. After Chu Baiquan left, Si Chen returned directly to the room. At this time, the two guardians were also waiting in the room, waiting for Si Chen to come in. Entering the room, Si Chen closed the door and looked at the two guardians in front of him. Mr. Mu Lao Lu, did the leader have any contact with the Great Elder before he entered this state? Upon hearing Si Chen's question, Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu both paused and suddenly raised their heads to look at Si Chen. After a brief recollection, Mr. Mu said in a deep voice, the Great Elder did come to Rakshasa Peak once, but the stay was very short, and he came to present a heavenly material and earthly treasure to the leader. Mu Lao's tone was a little hesitant, and she said to Si Chen, but other elders also came to see the leader during that time, and the leader only entered this state more than half a month after that. After hearing what Mr. Mu said, Si Chen nodded. Excuse me, two guardians. It doesn't matter, I have been waiting outside the room. If you need anything, just call me. After the two guardians also left the room, only Si Chen and Luo Juru were left in the room again. Si Chen came to the bedside, picked up Luo Juru and let her lean on his chest. Madam, I always feel that Great Elder Chu Baiquan gives me a deep sense of crisis. Do you think it is my illusion? Reaching out and pinching Luo Juru's nose, Si Chen said helplessly, "It would be great if you could talk to me, so that I can get to know this person better." Okay, let's continue today's massage and storytelling session. In Luo Juru's spiritual world. Although Chu Baiquan has left, Luo Juru's spirit fell into an extremely violent state from the time Chu Baiquan came here until he left. Especially when she heard that Chu Baiquan first gave Si Chen pills and then invited Si Chen to be a guest on his peak. Luo Juru sank into the cold abyss and kept murmuring, "No, you must not believe him and don't follow him." Maybe everyone was kept in the dark by Chu Baiquan, maybe everyone didn't see Chu Baiquan's true face clearly, but Luo Juru was the only one who was different. She clearly knew why she had fallen into this miserable state, and she knew even more clearly who was the initiator of all this. Luo Juru will never forget the day Chu Baiquan found her and told her that he accidentally obtained a treasure from the ancient Forbidden Land. He couldn't use this treasure, so he wanted to give it to the leader. Luo Juru didn't think much about this usually kind-hearted elder, and directly put away the box filled with black energy. After that, other elders also came to Rakshasa Peak one after another, with the pretext of reporting some situations of the divine religion to Luo Juru. Although this made Luo Juru feel a little strange, she did not doubt it too much. Half a month later, she remembered this treasure and opened the box while practicing. An extremely sinister force instantly poured into her body. This power was so terrifying that even a powerful person like her, who was in the late stage of the tribulation realm, had no ability to resist. Almost instantly, Luo Juru felt that her body and soul had completely lost contact, and she also lost control of her body. Not only that, this power attached itself to her soul, constantly eroding her vitality. She was unable to convey any of her thoughts to the outside world, and could only struggle desperately in the darkness. This kind of power would not kill her immediately, but it would make her witness the loss of her life bit by bit while she was awake, but there was nothing she could do about it. This is countless times more cruel than killing her directly. All of this was caused by that box, the box Chu Baiquan gave her. Before that, Luo Juru had never thought that the great elder of the divine religion, whom he had always trusted, would actually do such a thing. His so-called kind face is just a false mask for others to see. But now, Si Chen's arrival has given Luo Juru hope, and Si Chen has become the ray of light in Luo Juru's dark life. Luo Juru's body began to gradually improve with Si Chen's help, and there was a possibility of waking up. Everything seems to be changing for the better. At this time, Chu Baiquan appeared again. It's still that kind and hypocritical face, and it's still his usual method of winning people over. Luo Juru almost didn't need to think about the purpose of inviting Si Chen to his peak. Chu Baiquan wanted to kill her last and most important hope. This also made Luo Juru's heart hit rock bottom in an instant, and his whole person fell into a huge panic. Luo Juru would rather never wake up than lose Si Chen just like that. At this moment, Luo Juru found a pair of warm hands holding her hand. The voice that made her feel extremely reassuring sounded in her ears again, "Madam, I won't go. This person always gives me a feeling that he is kind on the surface, but is very dangerous behind the scenes. It's better for me to stay as far away from him as possible. Besides, what could be more comfortable than being by your wife's side?" For some reason, at the moment Si Chen's words rang out, Luo Juru suddenly realized that she really couldn't leave him anymore. It was as if Si Chen could see through her heart and could always give her a sense of security at the most appropriate time. "Bad guy, just know you can't go. For the sake of your wit, I allow you to kiss me for one more minute. 1 second today." Ba chirp. The evening breeze blew gently, and the cold moonlight splashed randomly on the earth. The breeze with the fragrance of flowers blew into the room through the window, adding a bit of ambiguity to the subtle atmosphere in the room. At this time, on the white jade bed, Si Chen and Luo Juru were facing each other, pillowing on the same pillow. "Young disciple, I only allow you to kiss me for one more second. You've been here for a quarter of an hour. Are you done yet? Believe it or not, I will stab you to death when I wake up." Luo Juru could clearly feel that she was being held in Si Chen's arms at this moment, and at the same time, Si Chen was holding her chin and doing tricks to her. "You're still pinching my chin. Do you think you can take the dominant position between the two of us?" You think so? On Si Chen's side, he slowly raised his head and looked at Luo Juru's delicate face that was not stained by a trace of dust, his eyes full of smiles. Madam, I have to earn my money back before you wake up. Otherwise, if you turn your back on me and kill me, I will suffer a big loss. But will you fall in love with me at the first sight when you wake up? Hey hey. Bah, narcissist, you think so? Luo Juru really wanted to raise her hand and touch the face of the man in front of her, and also wanted to open her eyes and look at him. If possible, Luo Juru wanted to see everything about Si Chen. Si Chen raised his hand and pinched Luo Juru's cheek, and continued to talk to himself. Actually, what I'm most afraid of is that you can't sense the outside world at the moment. All of this is my own fault. If that's the case, after you wake up, I will really go to Hexy. Humph, what nonsense are you talking about? You're talking like I'm a murderer. Luo Juru thought dissatisfiedly after hearing Si Chen's words. Besides, can you go back to your original ways after just a few kisses? You idiot is so easily satisfied. Unknowingly, Luo Juru started to consider Si Chen. Luo Juru would be very dissatisfied every time he made some loss-making business. But while Luo Juru was dissatisfied, he often thought, he is obviously a very smart person, why does he always do things that cost money? And Si Chen seems to only do this kind of loss-making thing when facing her. Bad guy, if you want to take advantage of me, there's no way. However, when Luo Juru thought about the doting things Si Chen had done to her, a thought that made her very uncomfortable suddenly came to her mind. What if he does this to other women in the future? What if other women are more proactive than me? No, absolutely not. The moment this thought arose, Luo Juru really wished that she could regain her mobility immediately. She really wanted to stand in front of Si Chen and say to him face to face. You can only do this kind of loss-making thing to me, not to other women, because I'm the only one who doesn't want you or anything like that. The women out there are all bad people. You have no way of controlling them with your IQ. Just stay behind me and hold my thigh. Don't have any other ideas. Si Chen hugged Luo Juru. It was clear that Luo Juru in his arms could not move, but Si Chen suddenly felt like he was being censored. Si Chen didn't think Luo Juru would study this kind of thing before. Could it be that girls are born with this ability? Madam, can you hear me? Are you thinking about something about Xiao Juju? Si Chen looked at Luo Juru in his arms and asked tentatively. I didn't, don't slander others. I'm going to bed. If you want to stay here, stop talking or go back to your bunk. Naturally, Luo Juru had no way to answer Si Chen, and Si Chen had no way to know what Luo Juru was thinking. Seeing the moon outside the window rising to its highest point, Si Chen knew that a new day had arrived. Lowering his head, Si Chen pursed Luo Juru's lips and bit them gently. Good night, madam. After signing in, Si Chen jumped out of bed and sat on his own bed. Now he no longer sleeps at night, but chooses to practice meditation instead of sleeping. In this way, on the one hand, you can improve your cultivation as soon as possible, and on the other hand, you can always prevent accidents from happening. Good night, you bad guy. One of the 8 main peaks of the White Feather sect, Yinghui Peak. In the deepest part of Yinghui Peak, in a secret room with flickering candlelight, 2 figures were sitting in front of a small round table. Astonishingly, they are Chu Baiquan, the first elder of the White Feather God sect, and Dang Huo, the second elder. Luo Juru's body is really recovering bit by bit, and even the spiritual power in her meridians is showing signs of recovery. If her soul begins to recover, it means she will wake up soon. Then all our plans will be in vain. Chu Baiquan sat in the first place, staring at Dang Huo opposite him with cold eyes. And Dang Huo also gritted his teeth and said, to put it bluntly, the reason why Luo Juru got better is all because of that kid who appeared from nowhere. Dang Huo raised his head, looked directly into Chu Baiquan's eyes, and said in a low voice. Get rid of him. You think I don't want to? Chu Baiquan glared at Dang Huo angrily. There are Xuanrui and Lu Qing on Rakshasa Peak. Their strength is not inferior to yours. Once there is a big movement, the entire divine sect will come. Use your brain for everything. Faced with his pig teammate who thinks about beauty all day long, Chu Baiquan is also very helpless. If Dang Huo hadn't still had some strength, Chu Baiquan would have wanted to kick him away completely. Then what should we do? Just watch him wake up Luo Juru? Dang Huo asked again. He'll do it himself. Chu Baiquan directly interrupted Dang Huo. He stood up slowly and looked at the wall of the secret room. I believe it won't take a few days for him to finish eating the elixir I gave him, and he will come to Yingui Peak. Then when we get there. Dang Huo's eyes lit up, and a strong murderous intention emerged. Killing him directly will probably cause a lot of trouble. Chu Baiquan stopped Dang Huo directly. But he slowly took out a black box in his hand. Fortunately, I was thoughtful enough to keep part of this thing. The Great Elder is really wonderful. Dang Huo kept flattering him. At this time, Chu Baiquan also turned around and looked at Dang Huo. Also, didn't you mean that he is at the 4th level of the Divine Treasure Realm? When I went there today, it was clear that he was at the 9th level of the Divine Treasure Realm. This is all wrong. You are really getting over it as you live longer. Ah, faced with Chu Baiquan's words, Dang Huo was also stunned. I clearly remember that he was at the 4th level of the Divine Treasure Realm at that time. Chu Baiquan rolled his eyes at him angrily again. Can he still break through 5 minor realms in one day? Do you think he is the reincarnation of the Emperor of the ancient clan? Then, maybe I saw it wrong. Incompetent bungler. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.